The Wandering Soul Planet. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 176, Pursuing the Victory. Soon new soldiers came up, and a new round of excavation work began. This time, the fighting ants did not go down, but worked with the engineer ants. The engineer ants were responsible for digging the soil, and the fighting ants were responsible for digging the soil under the castle. As a result, the progress of the project was more than doubled. In less than half an hour, the second layer of the Hun ant tunnel network was dug out again, and thousands of Hun ants rushed up to fight desperately. But this time, the engineer ants and fighting ants added up to more than 10,000 soldiers, more than twice the number of Hun ants. Obviously, the Hun ants did not gain any advantage this time, and were quickly wiped out by the Red Ant Army with an absolute advantage in numbers. Then some new soldiers came up to replace the dead soldier ants, and a new round of excavation work and the subsequent hand-to-hand combat began. In this way, on that day, the Red Ant Army dug a total of 8 layers of tunnels in the enemy castle and seized a lot of food from the tunnels, but it also paid the price of 10,000 deaths and 20,000 injuries. On the second day, 9 layers of tunnels were dug, on the third day, 8 layers of tunnels were dug, and on the fourth day, the last 7 layers of tunnels were dug. So far, all the tunnels, 32 layers, have been dug out, and mountains of food and grass have been seized. 20,000 enemy troops have been captured, mainly non-combat ants, worker ants and nanny ants, and the enemy's queen ant has also been captured. The victory of this battle greatly boosted the morale of the Red Ant Army and solved the problem of the Red Ant Army's food and grass for the winter. The news that the almost dead city-state, the largest and most solid food town in the Xiongnu Ant Federation, was conquered by the Red Ant Army in a few days spread like a plague throughout the Xiongnu Ant Federation. The whole country was in panic, and no one wanted to escape, preferably to a foreign country. The next target of the Red Ant Army's attack was the capital city of the Xiongnu Ant Federation, which was not only their largest city-state, but also their second largest food town. There were more than 10 million residents and more than 2 million defenders living here, and 21 lines of defense were built. Logically speaking, this should be a tough nut to crack. However, since hearing that the important town almost had fallen, people's hearts were unsettled and the army was demoralized, and they had no intention of resisting. Before the Red Ant Army's troops and planes arrived, most of the residents and troops had already left, leaving only 2 or 3 million residents who did not want to leave or could not leave, and hundreds of thousands of defenders with similar ideas. The attack began. First, according to the usual practice, regardless of the consequences, let the beetle planes bomb them to their heart's content first. Oh. It was really fun. You can bomb them however you want, horizontally or vertically, lying down or sleeping, it's all fine. Anyway, the enemy has neither aircraft to resist nor anti-aircraft guns to intercept. It seems that being the Red Ant Army's air force is definitely the most comfortable and safest branch of the military. The beetle planes ravaged the 21 lines of defense carefully built by the Hun ants, and ravaged them until they felt very satisfied. What is very satisfied? It means that when the enemy's positions are bombed to the point where there is almost no human shadow, they are satisfied and can go back to sleep with peace of mind. Then, of course, the ground troops of the Red Ant Army, who had eaten, drunk and slept enough, went up to clean up the remaining enemies. This battle was easier and less exciting than the last battle in the almost dead city-state. It took less than a day to break through all 21 lines of defense of the enemy army, and surrounded the enemy Kyoto castle without much effort. Next, they dug layer by layer to destroy the enemy like last time. However, after only 1 day of digging and less than 6 or 7 layers of the enemy castle, the enemy raised the white flag in despair and surrendered. However, the king of the Xiongnu Ants, a group of ministers and officials of all levels basically ran away, and the mayor of the city-state had already slipped away. The remaining acting mayor was actually a cleaner named Erpidon who cleaned the toilet for the original mayor. When this kid saw that the situation was very bad, he simply raised his hands and surrendered. He was very well behaved. After all, living one more day is one more day. Who doesn't want to live? Since the Red Ant Army has captured the first 2 major city-states of the Xiongnu Ants, the next thing is to pursue the victory. According to the spies, the main force of the enemy is fleeing to the border area bordering the White Termite Federation. So the commander of the Red Ant Army, Wei Shenayao, decided to send a large army to pursue the enemy in this direction. No mistakes, one sentence, one post, one content, 1619, one book, one bar, take a look. 2 days later, in the evening, the sun faded, a little bit to the west, dim, and was cut into pieces by the clouds at dusk. The Red Ant Army followed the footprints of the Xiongnu ants to a canyon near the border and found that the ground was full of food and precious toys such as jewelry and jade discarded by the enemy. The soldiers of the Red Ant Army were delighted when they saw it. Anyway, there was no enemy here, and there was no need to fight. They just needed to take these treasures on the ground and take them back. Why not? Almost every soldier had this idea. If not now, when? If not, take it. If you want to take it, everyone will take it. After a moment's hesitation, everyone rushed to grab it, and even those who were late to act fought with those who were quick. The scene was in chaos. Suddenly, a fire broke out around the canyon, accompanied by a lot of thick smoke, which made it difficult for the Red Ant soldiers to breathe. Soon, they fell to the ground and fainted. Those who tried to escape were also forced back by the rolling heat waves of the surrounding fire, and they were in chaos, crying and howling. Half an hour later, all the soldiers surrounded by the fire were burned to death or choked to death by the thick smoke in the canyon. At this point, the Red Ant Army, a large group of troops chasing the enemy, was completely wiped out in this unfortunate canyon. With a loss of more than 100,000 officers and soldiers, Wei Shenyao's pursuit operation was declared bankrupt. After more than 20 days of fighting, the Red Ant Army had lost nearly one-third of its fresh troops and had to switch from strategic offense to strategic defense to consolidate the existing results. However, Wei Shenyao's idea was too confident. In fact, it was not the Hun ants that caused the Red Ant Army's defeat this time, but the White Termite Army. Now the White Termite Army has officially joined the war, and it is an undeclared war, fighting across borders. Chapter 177, Termites Send Out. Unfortunately, Wei Shenyao is still in the dark. He thought it was a fire from heaven, a punishment from heaven for his overly radical behavior, asking him to be restrained. It was precisely because of his misjudgment that he neglected to take precautions, which led to the arrival of a greater disaster. Because every time he conquered a city-state, he almost completely destroyed the tunnels in the castle. Although he had to do so, the consequence was that there were no tunnels to live in. Although it is still autumn and the weather is not too cold, it is dry in autumn and it is easy to catch fire. His troops living in the wild are very likely to be attacked by fire. Unfortunately, Wei Shenyao and his generals did not think of this. The termite tribe can be said to be the smartest nation among the ants, because they have known how to use fire for a long time, and they know when to use fire for the best effect. Now Wei Shenyao has dispersed his troops to guard more than a dozen city-states, each of which has tens of thousands to hundreds of thousands of defenders, and hundreds to thousands of scarab fighters. It has made up its mind to stay there, and sent a messenger on a beetle plane to report to the Queen of Gold and Silver Ants, requesting reinforcements to assist in the defense. In addition, it would be best to relocate a large number of new residents to live in the occupied area so as to facilitate the rule of the occupied area. After receiving the report, the Queen of Gold and Silver Ants was ecstatic. Not only did she praise his outstanding military exploits, but she also met all his requirements. This time she would personally lead the expedition and personally lead 800,000 reinforcements to rush to the rescue. In addition, administrative officials at all levels were responsible for relocating as many residents as possible to live in the occupied area, and at least 3 million ants must be guaranteed to live there. At the same time, the Queen of Gold and Silver Ants also reported to the Commander-in-Chief Cordyceps Sinensis and Queen Saffron to publicize and exaggerate her military exploits and request troops to support her. Cordyceps Sinensis was very surprised and angry when he knew about it. It was very stupid and dangerous for her to act without notice. She really didn't know the height of the sky and the depth of the earth. She was too arrogant and conceited, thinking that she could dominate the world with a few broken flying insects. Then, Cordyceps and Saffron discussed and decided not to send troops for support for the time being, but to wait and see what would happen. The messenger soon returned on the scarab plane and reported to Wei Shenyao the news that the Queen of the Golden and Silver Ants would soon lead 1 million troops to reinforce and relocate 3 million residents. After hearing this encouraging good news, Wei Shenyao became more confident and ambitious. Naturally, he was not so concerned about defense and security. Late that night, Suddenly, flames and thick smoke broke out outside the barracks of the Red Ants, and the fire spread everywhere, and soon burned into the barracks. There were cries and screams in the barracks, and the officers and soldiers were terrified, running around in panic. In less than half an hour, all the officers and soldiers surrounded by the fire were burned to death. That night, almost all the barracks of the city-states occupied by the Red Ant Army were burned. And more than 80% of the occupying troops were burned to death or choked by the smoke. The rest escaped this huge catastrophe because they slept in the castle tunnels of the Xiongnu and Kyoto that had not been completely destroyed that night. Of course, Wei Shenyao and a group of senior generals also escaped this disaster. At the same time, because the scarab beetle plane landed in the center of the barracks, except for a very small number of people who were choked by the fire and smoke and burned to death, most of them took off and escaped in time without suffering major losses. In fact, the Termite Federation did not want to intervene in the war between the Red Ant Kingdom and the Xiongnu Ants, and wanted to sit on the mountain and watch the tigers fight, but unexpectedly, the Red Ant Army was so powerful that even the Termite Federation, as a neighbor of the Xiongnu Ants, felt more and more pressure. In addition, the Xiongnu Ant King personally came to ask for help and promised to donate more than a dozen border castles as a reward for rescue. These dozen castles were exactly what the Termite Federation had coveted for a long time. Finally, the king of the Termite Federation agreed to send troops to help his neighboring countries and resist foreign invasion. Therefore, the two actions of burning the canyon and burning the camp that brought devastating blows to the Red Ant Army were all done by arsonists, the Termite Army. Why do the Termite Army use fire like humans? It turns out that decades ago, a great inventor named Worship Fire, nicknamed Not Living in Vain, appeared in the Termite tribe. In a very accidental event, he grabbed a very small pebble with one of his front paws and knocked on a rock that was huge for him, hitting a few sparks. He thought it was fun, so he continued to knock and hit more sparks. It happened to be a hot day, under the sun, and there happened to be a small piece of hay next to it, which was caught on fire by a spark. In order to prove that sparks can ignite a fire, this clever termite repeated many similar experiments and finally succeeded. No mistakes, one post, one content, one book, one forum, 1619, one book, one forum, one forum. Finally, it asked dozens of ants to move a small blue stone that was several times the size of the ant's body, and another ant to move one or two small pebbles as small as the ant's head, so that they could set fire anywhere and create a fire. So far, it named itself Fire Worship, which means worshipping fire and not living in vain. Although it invented fire by worshipping fire, it did not know how to put out fire, let alone how to control the size of fire. Its only achievement in this life was the invention of fire, nothing more. It is precisely because termites only invented fire, they can neither put out fire nor control fire power like humans. Therefore, they naturally do not eat barbecue and cooked food, and there is no great progress. And their ability to use fire to attack the enemy can be regarded as a remarkable achievement. Not only can they ambush the enemy with fire during the day, but they can also use the night as a cover to pile up flammable materials such as hay around the enemy camp in advance and then ignite them. It can be said that their IQ is amazing. They are indeed the smartest ant nation. It seems that their commander is not simple, perhaps he can be regarded as a wise man. This time, Huai Shenyao encountered a strong opponent. Chapter 178, The Castle is Besieged. Although it has concentrated all its trump cards, the Scarab fighter planes, on him, the main force it has brought out now only has 70,000 to 80,000 soldier ants. What if the enemy suddenly attacks at this time? Staying here, I am afraid that the enemy will launch another fire attack. If I retreat, what if I am ambushed by the enemy like burning the canyon again? This time, Huai Shenyao is really in a dilemma. Just when Huai Shenyao was in a dilemma, the frontier sentry reported that the Hun ants and termites were gathering from all directions, and the number was estimated to be at least 1 million. When Huai Shenyao heard this, he was shocked and hurriedly ordered all the artillery ants to board more than 6,000 scarab bombers to bomb the enemy ant colony immediately to intercept and delay the enemy's attack. The rest of the infantry ants immediately hid in the castle tunnel that had not been completely destroyed. At this time, the total number of Huai Shenyao's artillery ants was less than 15,000. If all of them were on board, there would be only 2 or 3 artillery ants on the back of each scarab, and only a few had 3, and most had only 2. Such combat effectiveness is too disappointing. According to the most ideal result, each artillery ant on the back of the scarab can kill at most 20 to 30 enemy ants, so these 15,000 artillery ants can only kill more than 300,000 enemy troops at most, which is far from enough. However, Hua Xinyao can't care so much now. It's better to delay for a while, and it's better to delay until the reinforcements of the gold and silver ants arrive. Soon, more than 6,000 scarab bombers took off in all directions around the castle, trying to rush to intercept the aggressive enemy. This time, there are more than 1.2 million Hun ants and more than 300,000 white termites surrounding Hua Xinyao's Red Ant army, with a total of nearly 1.6 million, which can be said to be fierce and unstoppable. The leader of the Xiongnu ants is Zhu Wuneng, nicknamed Zhu Wuneng, and the leader of the termite army is Qi Sili, nicknamed Qi Sini. Zhu Wuneng saw that the leader of the termite army was so angry that he didn't take action, but once he took action, he won a series of victories. Now Zhu Wuneng likes to flatter Qi Sini no matter what. At this moment, Zhu Wuneng saw that he and the coalition of termites were about to surround the Red Ant army, and victory was in sight. So it began to flatter him again, waving its tentacles and saying, "Marshal Sili, you see, we are about to recapture our country's capital city. This all depends on your strategic planning and brilliant plans. You are worthy of being the incarnation of Cheyenne Kistar and the reincarnation of a wise man. Tomorrow when you are free, please teach me a few tricks. I am willing to worship you as my master and learn from you with an open mind." Unexpectedly, Qi Sini waved his tentacles modestly and said, "Brother Wuneng, you are too polite. How can I let you worship me as your master? I only have better luck with these two tricks, which is nothing, Brother Sili. Aren't you being modest?" Zhu Wuneng waved his tentacles and continued to flatter him, saying, "If you can't be a master, then no one in the world can be a master. There's no rush. Let's talk about it after this battle." Qi Sini couldn't refuse, so he waved his tentacles and said perfunctorily. Suddenly, a spy came running to report that an enemy bomber appeared ahead and was bombing our army, causing chaos. Zhu Wuneng and Qi Sini were shocked at the same time, almost waving their tentacles and saying in unison, "How could this happen?" They thought that the last fire burned the camp had almost burned the Red Ant army, but they didn't expect that it would still scare the beetles away. Not long after, another spy came running back to report that the enemy bomber had fled after a random bombing. Our army has now resumed its marching formation, but it is estimated that the loss is no less than 100,000. When Zhu Wuneng heard this, he felt so distressed that he waved his tentacles and said, "This is really unreasonable." Qi Sini hurriedly comforted him, waving his tentacles and said, "Don't be angry, let's surround them immediately, destroy them, and avenge you." Zhu Wuneng immediately waved his tentacles proudly and said, "The whole army will speed up and surround the castle tonight. At dawn tomorrow, we will attack with all our strength and must take it down in one fell swoop." Originally, the Red Ant Army Air Force could destroy more enemy troops. However, the Hun ants heard about the power of the Scarab bomber, and when they saw the Scarab flying over, they immediately fled in fear. The Scarab planes could only chase and bomb everywhere, so that the enemy troops were more dispersed, and the bombing effect would inevitably be greatly reduced, only about 1/3 of the usual. After dropping the bomb, the Scarab dared not fly back. No mistake, one poem, one post, one content, 1 in 1/6, one book, one bar, one look. Because that place will soon be surrounded by heavy enemy troops, the situation is extremely dangerous. Since flying back directly would mean death, then they might as well fly south. The south is the territory of the Red Ant Kingdom, but it is far away and will take at least 3 days to fly. No matter how far or tired it is better than dying. So they flew south. That evening, 1.5 million Xiongnu ants and termites surrounded the castle occupied by Hua Xinyao with 10 layers inside and 10 layers outside, a total of hundreds of layers. If there were no reinforcements, it would be difficult to fly even if they had wings. Seeing the mountains and plains full of black enemy soldier ants, Hua Xinyao took a few breaths of cold air and thought, "This is over, completely over. The reinforcements of the Golden and Silver Ant Queen will definitely not arrive in 7 or 8 days. Now I only have 60,000 infantrymen. Can I hold on for that long?" As for the 2 fires that fell from the sky, Hua Xinyao still doesn't understand what happened. I thought it was God's punishment for killing living beings. In the early morning of that day, a tragic battle began. You are so angry that you put the termite army you led last, and only let the incompetent pig lead his mob to charge first. It said that it was watching the enemy's battle for it, but in fact it was letting its troops go to die. It doesn't care about the life and death of the Hun ants. For it, the more fierce the fight between the Hun ants and the red ants, the better, and the more deaths, the better. Chapter 179, Strict Defense. At this time, it will definitely not be stupid enough to offer any magic tricks. It will wait until the Xiongnu ants and the red ant army are killed and both sides are injured before it can reap the benefits. The castle originally had a total of 200 exits. In order to concentrate troops for defense, Hua Ishin ordered the engineer ants to dig out the soil in the caves and block hundreds of cave entrances last night. Now there are only more than 100 cave entrances that are easy to defend. Hua Ishin gave a death order, requiring his subordinates to strictly guard these cave entrances for at least 7 days and wait for the arrival of reinforcements. Led by the charge ants, the Xiongnu ants rushed towards the castle entrances guarded by the red ant army with an overwhelming momentum. The red ant soldiers hiding in each cave entrance watched the Xiongnu ants swarming in from the cave, waiting nervously and attentively. Since there is a small tunnel at the entrance of the cave that is relatively narrow, it can only accommodate 2 or 3 tall and strong Hun ants to squeeze in, but the position of the red ant soldiers waiting near the entrance of the cave is relatively spacious, which can accommodate more than a dozen red ant fighting ants. Therefore, in each local position of the cave entrance, the number of red ant soldiers and Hun ants is at least 5 to 1, which has an absolute advantage. Moreover, the red ant soldiers have also thought of a defensive tactic to deal with the enemy soldiers, that is, to use 3 soldier ants to make a frontal feint attack in front, and 1 soldier ant on each side is responsible for the main attack from the enemy's side, attacking the vital parts of the enemy ants. Some red ant soldiers who make a frontal feint attack also raise small stones or wood and other hard objects as shields to protect themselves as much as possible. Compared with the well-organized defensive tactics of the red ant soldiers, the Hun ants' attack is completely random. It seems that the Hun ants squeezed into the cave not to fight, but to visit. It is almost like a blind person rushing in, blindly, and delivering himself to be slaughtered. This is like a person just walked into a dark room from a bright place outside, and his eyes were completely dark and he couldn't see anything, just like a blind person. The Hun ants were the same as humans. Before their eyes could adapt to the darkness of the tunnel, they were confused and became beheaded ghosts. Their heads were cut off by the red ant soldiers who attacked from the side with their big teeth like vices. In this way, the red ant soldiers destroyed the first batch of thousands of Hun ant soldiers at a very small cost. Then, the second batch, the third batch, the fourth batch, and the 13th batch. The continuous attack on the castle tunnel entrance almost became a meat bun hitting a dog. There is no return. On this day, more than 70,000 Hun ant soldiers died in battle, and 3,000 red ant soldiers were killed and wounded. The next day, Zhu Wunang was ruthless and launched 17 waves of attacks, losing nearly 90,000 soldiers, but still returned without success. The red ant soldiers suffered 5,000 casualties. On the third day, the exasperated Zhu Wunang went even crazier. From dawn to dark, he launched 23 waves of attacks in succession, losing nearly 110,000 soldiers and ants, but still gained nothing. The red ant soldiers also suffered 9,000 casualties. In these 3 days of attack, plus the more than 100,000 soldiers and ants that were bombed by the beetle planes at the beginning, Zhu Wunang's army has lost nearly 400,000, almost 1/3 of the total. It's only been a few days? Zhu Wunang was so angry that he wanted to cry. He wanted to ask you for advice, but he couldn't save face. Look, others led the troops to fight and win repeatedly, but he was defeated repeatedly and lost soldiers and generals. How embarrassing. In this case, asking others for advice would make him look too incompetent and shameless. Although Zhu Wunang didn't have much ability, he still had self-esteem. Zhu Wunang had no choice but to temporarily stop the attack and rest for a day. On the 4th day, there was a truce. Both sides lived in peace all day. Although no war took place, both sides were not idle. Zhu Wunang was thinking hard, trying to find a good way to solve the offensive problem. Hua Ishin also took the opportunity to strengthen the defensive fortifications and adjust the deployment of troops. At noon yesterday, the more than 6,000 beetles flying south finally encountered the red ant army to the north, so they reported the latest battle situation to the Queen of Gold and Silver Ants, requesting emergency support for the Kyoto Castle to rescue Hua Ishin. The Queen of Gold and Silver Ants was shocked when she heard it, and immediately let the more than 6,000 exhausted beetles eat and drink enough and rest for a day. The next morning, they set out to rescue the tractor army with tens of thousands of artillery ants. No mistakes, one song, one post, one content, 1 6 1 9, one book, one bar. It is said that Zhu Wuneng, this big, thought about it for a day and a night but could not come up with any good solution. So on the morning of the next day, an emergency military enlarged meeting was held. All officers above the rank of lieutenant were invited to participate, and everyone was asked to work together to find a way to solve the problem of attacking the castle. After a heated discussion for most of the day, Zhu Wuneng's subordinates finally came to their senses and thought of almost the same method as Wai Shenyo, which was to dig from top to bottom. Since they still had to make some preparations such as replenishing food and grass, and the meeting had already taken up half a day, Zhu Wuneng decided to start digging from the top of the castle tomorrow morning. The dawn gradually penetrated the clouds, and the sky was blue-gray. Zhu Wuneng's 10,000 engineer ants climbed to the top of the castle from all directions and began digging. When Wai Shenyo learned that the enemy army had also learned the digging tactics he had used to capture the castle, he was frightened and terrified. He hurriedly called his subordinates to a meeting to discuss emergency countermeasures. Everyone thought hard and argued fiercely, but could not come up with any effective solution. After all, the difference in the strength of the enemy and us was too great, and the fighting ants were not as strong as the opponents, and there were no artillery ants, lacking long-range attack methods. Fortunately, the castle had many tunnels and was relatively spacious. Even the bottom few floors could accommodate the remaining more than 40,000 red ants and a lot of food. Therefore, Wai Shenyo had to take a temporary measure and decided to withdraw the officers and soldiers to the second layer below before the enemy ants dug through the first layer of tunnels above, and so on, to avoid the enemy's sharp edge and buy enough time to wait for the arrival of reinforcements. In addition, it is necessary to transfer food as much as possible and not let the enemy get food easily. Chapter 180, Breaking Through the Siege. At noon that day, when the enemy had dug through 4 layers of tunnels, they were about to dig through the 5th layer. The situation was extremely critical. The 6,000 red ant army bombers, plus the 1,000 newly brought by the gold and silver queen ants, a total of 7,000 scarab bombers, finally arrived. The battlefield situation suddenly changed dramatically. The aggressive scarab bombers launched a one-sided massacre towards the dense enemy ant colony. The enemy soldier ants who were digging the soil saw countless scarabs flying towards them in the air, and they were so scared that they ran away with their heads in their hands. They dared not continue to work, and they all wanted to escape. The Hun ants surrounding the castle were already scared silly when they saw the scarab bombers all over the sky. They crowded and trampled on each other, and the situation was in chaos. At this time, the scarab bombers would certainly not show mercy. They would bomb wherever there were many enemies. Not long after, a large number of enemy soldiers were killed and wounded. The Hun ants who were crowding each other to escape also dispersed the termite army, causing the termite army to retreat with the Hun ants. The artillery ants on the back of the scarab had little ammunition and were in a hurry to bomb last time, so they didn't find many termites, and therefore didn't pay much attention. This time, they were shocked to find so many termites in the enemy ant colony. At first, the scarab bomber tried to find trouble with the Hun ants, but now the Hun ants were blown to pieces and fled everywhere. On the battlefield, it seemed that only the formation of the termites was relatively neat, so they had to find trouble with the termites. Although it is still unknown why the termites have also mixed in, it is definitely not a good thing to mix with the enemy, so they should teach them a lesson first. In this way, the scarab fighter turned around and bombed the termite colony, letting the termite army know that the red ant army is not so easy to mess with. After the beetle bomber bombed the enemy and made them flee, they all returned to the vicinity of the castle. An artillery ant got off the beetle's back and ran into the cave to report to Wai Shenyo that termites had joined the Xiongnu ants, and told it to be careful. Wai Shenyo thought, so termites have joined the enemy. I was wondering why we encountered 2 fires for no reason. It seems that the fires were probably set by termites. Xiongnu ants are definitely not so smart. If they wanted to set fires, they would have done so long ago, and would never do so after suffering such heavy losses. Otherwise, wouldn't they be fools? Now that we have discovered such a difficult opponent, we can't stay here for long, and quickly retreat to the south to meet up with the Queen of Gold and Silver ants. So Wai Shenyo immediately ordered all the artillery ants who had none or had few bombs to gather together, and the artillery ants who had finished bombing to gather together and take the beetle plane back to the Queen of Gold and Silver Ants to exchange people to fight. Soon, the flight unit was adjusted. A total of more than 4,000 beetle fighters completed the bombing mission and flew south, and the remaining 3,000 beetle fighters were ready to go. Not long after, SYNOPSIS, with only more than 40,000 soldier ants left, retreated southward with a lot of food. The team was like a winding snake slowly swimming forward. SYNOPSIS ordered half of the beetle fighters to search and fly in front, responsible for reconnaissance and exploration. If they found the enemy, they could bomb immediately and then report, kill first and report later. The other half flew close protection at the back. However, the beetle fighter responsible for close protection can fly to the front of the team and fly to the tail of the team at once. It always has to fly around the team and cannot leave the team to provide close protection for the team. At about 7 o'clock in the evening, the retreating team came to an open space in front of a canyon. SYNOPSIS immediately remembered the defeat of burning the canyon and immediately ordered the troops to stop advancing and camp on the spot for the night. The whole team was changed from a long snake formation to a circular formation, with the piles of food placed in the formation. In addition, the 1,500 beetles that were scouting in front were called back, and all 3,000 beetles were divided into 30 patrol flight teams, each with 100 beetles, responsible for patrolling within 100 meters around the main force tonight. Each team flew for a quarter of an hour and reported immediately if they found the enemy. The beetle fighters that had no flight missions for the time being could sleep and rest, and the flight team that had completed the patrol mission could wake up the next flight team. At midnight, a patrol flight team of beetles found that countless termites were carrying and pushing large and small hay, dry leaves and dry branches, rushing towards the camp of SYNOPSIS team from all directions. The enemy was indeed ready to move and began to repeat the old tricks, trying to burn the camp again. The patrol flight team immediately reported to SYNOPSIS. SYNOPSIS was shocked and immediately woke up all the resting and sleeping beetle bombers, asking them to immediately dispatch the surrounding enemy forces to carry out indiscriminate bombing, and make sure that the enemy would not be set on fire. Due to the low visibility at night, the beetle fighters could only bomb at low altitude, so the bombing effect was not ideal. However, because of the prominent reputation of the beetle bomber, it still scared away many enemy soldiers. About half an hour, after repeated bombing and intimidation, the enemy finally threw away the burning materials such as hay and dead leaves and ran away with their tails between their legs. No mistakes, 1 post, 1 content, 1 book, 1 bar, 1 6, 1 9, 1 book. A sinister burning the camp was aborted. After this false alarm, SYNOPSIS strengthened the patrol of the beetles and dared not slack off. That night, the enemy did not appear again. The night faded away, and the sky turned from black to blue, then to light, and then to fish belly white, and it lit up little by little. After the Jingwizhi plane repeatedly reconnaissanced the canyon ahead and found no enemy, SYNOPSIS commanded the team to pass quickly, not daring to stay in the canyon for half a minute. The team did not stop to rest until they completely passed the canyon and came to another open space. During this process, Jingwizhi patrolled and protected back and forth, not daring to relax at all, and was extremely nervous, fearing that there would be another fire canyon. At noon on the third day, SYNOPSIS team finally met up with the reinforcements of the Golden and Silver Ant Queen. Seeing the army of 1.2 million in front of her turned into only more than 40,000 defeated remnants, the Golden and Silver Ant Queen gnashed her teeth in anger, scolded SYNOPSIS and cried bitterly. Chapter 181 Buried in Fire. The Queen of Golden and Silver Ants asked SYNOPSIS why he was so stupid and made such a good situation so miserable. SYNOPSIS quickly told her that it was the termites who joined the Xiongnu ants. Termites are not only cunning, but also very good at using fire attacks. The Queen of Golden and Silver Ants was shocked when she heard it. She had never heard that ants could use fire, except for humans of course. She felt that the termites who could use fire were too terrible and would bring great danger to the entire ant world. The entire termite tribe must be eliminated as soon as possible. So she ordered without hesitation that the entire army advance to the territory of the Termite Federation, first sending 3,000 scarab fighters to conduct reconnaissance and search in front, and the remaining 4,000 scarabs set off with the main force, flying around and guarding the main force. At the same time, she also sent 3 scarabs back to report the news, and asked the messenger to take the scarab plane back to the General Staff headquarters in Kyoto, the Red Ant Kingdom, to report to the Commander-in-Chief Cordyceps that the termites were good at using fire to attack our army, and let them always be vigilant against the termites' fire attacks. This time, the Queen of Gold and Silver Ants not only brought 800,000 new troops from her own state, but also coaxed and deceived 3 castles on the nearby border with a total of 300,000 new troops. Now the Red Ant Army has another 1.14 million troops. Under the cover of thousands of majestic beetle bombers, the million-strong army rushed to the territory where the termites lived. The Queen of Gold and Silver Ants gave a fierce order, killing all the termites and hun ants without mercy. Along the way, she killed all the termites she met and chopped all the hun ants she saw, without any reason, as if a plague god had come. Now when the termites and hun ants saw this situation, they fled far away. We can't afford to provoke them, but can't we hide? The termites also adopted the strategy of fortifying the walls and clearing the fields, hiding all the food, not letting the Queen of Gold and Silver Ants get a grain of food, and wanted to starve the invaders to death. A few days later, the Queen of Gold and Silver Ants' army broke into the territory of the termites, and found nothing wherever they went. There was not a single termite in sight, nor a single grain of food. As time went by, the Queen Ant and other Red Ant soldiers felt that they had come to a gloomy and terrifying world, with towering trees everywhere. The ants walked in this gloomy forest, and they could hardly see the sun all day long. Even the beetle fighter planes could hardly fly to the top of such a tall tree, so they had to force themselves to drill around in the woods every day. The Queen Ant and the Red Ant army of YM lost their way after entering the primeval forest for most of the day. Even the beetle planes responsible for reconnaissance and search were lost, and they just led the troops to wander around in the dense forest, and even turned around and returned to the original place. This morning, the Red Ant army began to drill into the woods again. This was the 3rd day in the woods. Looking at the endless forest around her, the Queen Ant felt very headache. When could she get out? At this time, the beetle flying in front of them came back to report that there was thick smoke not far ahead. Then the beetle responsible for protecting the flight came back to report that there was also thick smoke behind the main force, and then there were the same reports on the left and right. Not long after, thick smoke billowed in all directions, and even the flying beetles were unable to open their eyes due to the thick smoke. The army of red ants on the ground was even more terrified and in chaos. A very eye-catching and terrifying message was involuntarily transmitted to their brains. They were surrounded by fire and could not rush out, and were about to be buried in the sea of fire. At this moment, the Queen of Gold and Silver Ants and Huaishan Yago were also scared to death. She hurriedly ordered the beetles to find a way out at all costs. However, the smoke from the burning fire became thicker and thicker, not only making it impossible to see the surrounding objects, but also choking people to death. Many beetles were choked to death, and those who were not choked to death could not tell the directions of east, south, west and north, and ran around like headless flies. Soon, the situation became worse and worse. The surrounding fires not only burned the dry grass and dead leaves, but also the big trees. Not only was there smoke, but there were also heat waves. At this point, even if the Queen of Golden and Silver Ants and YM took the scarab fighter, they could not rush out. 2 hours later, the two large troops led by the Queen of Golden and Silver Ants and YM were finally buried in the sea of fire, annihilated, and not a single one was left. When the bad news came, the whole country of the Red Ant Federation was in grief and shock. Unexpectedly, the termite tribe was so powerful and so good at fire attacks, with canyon ambushes, night raids on garrisons, and forest sieges. It's simply the IQ of humans. No mistakes in one song, one post, one content, one six, one book, one bar. This is too much? In the future, we will face great danger from the termite tribe. I'm afraid that the entire ant world will have to act according to the face of the termite tribe. From then on, many ant families were very afraid of the termite tribe and were inexplicably afraid. However, the fire attack launched by Commander Termite not only killed the enemy, but also seriously injured himself. Because the fire attack was so big, it caused a forest fire, and by the way, burned down 20 to 30 termite cities living near and around the forest, killing and injuring nearly 10 million termites, causing heavy losses to the termite family. Commander Termite was severely punished by being expelled from the army and demoted to pariah. The fire burned for half a month until a rare autumn rain came and it was extinguished. Only the Japanese Blue Empire was secretly delighted because their conspiracy succeeded. The initiator of this conspiracy, Prostate, was promoted to director of the Central Intelligence Agency of the Japanese Blue Empire and awarded the rank of Major General, while the backstage boss, the former chief of the General Staff of the Headquarters, Urinary Incontinence, was promoted to Commander-in-Chief of the Army and awarded the rank of General. The Japanese Blue Empire also celebrated the whole country for 3 days, and all government agencies and departments held banquets to celebrate. However, the director of the Intelligence Bureau, Major General Prostate, was not idle, as he received a more important task from Urinary Incontinence, which required him to go to the Termite Federation in person and get the secret of how termites use fire attacks. Chapter 182 Revenge. Nowadays, they can be regarded as a pair of birds with high martial arts skills. Although they dare not say that they can walk sideways in the world of flying birds, they should still have basic self-protection capabilities. Perhaps in the foreseeable future, there will be such a pair of poisonous birds in the world that will make people fear tigers. Autumn is here again. On a clear and refreshing autumn day, Zissou and Zir flew out of the mysterious valley, flying together, and began their bloody life in the world. The sun came out, and above the mountains and ridges, 2 happy birds were flying happily. They were Zissou and Zir. Just yesterday, Zir accepted Zissou's proposal. Now it is a pair of engaged couples flying freely in the sky. They have been flying for several days in a row. Near noon, they came to a deep forest shrouded in clouds and mist and landed on a big tree. Zissou saw the flowers blooming not far ahead, so he flew there first, followed by Zir. It landed on a coxcomb, but it didn't expect that the coxcomb would wither and die soon. It was shocked. Ah! Is the poison on my claws so strong? Will those beautiful and delicate flowers, soft and delicate animal skin and damaged capillaries wither and die under these poisonous claws? Zissou thought, it seems that I will become a rising star of evil. However, this is definitely not my intention. Even if I can't be a savior, I don't want to be a devil, I just want to be an angel. Maybe you are an angel in the eyes of some birds, but a devil in the eyes of others. Who cares? First of all, I have to be an angel of sparrows, build a free kingdom for sparrows and other small birds, and drive away or eliminate the natural enemies of small birds. This is my ideal at this stage. By the way, I must go back quickly to find my original sparrow tribe. Wouldn't it be a pity not to use this ready-made human resource? So Zissou told Zir about his idea, hoping that she would go back with him. Naturally, Zir would not have any objection. First, she was very curious about Zissou's past and wanted to learn more about it. Second, as Zissou's fiancée, she had to follow her husband's lead and strive to be a good wife and good mother. Zissou took Zir and flew southeast based on her memory, asking and searching all the way. Half a month later, Zissou learned that its sparrow tribe had fallen apart and was dispersed by a group of demons including the one-eyed shrike and the red-billed sparrowhawk. Some died, some escaped, and the remaining 200 sparrows were captured by them to serve as slaves or eaten by hungry demons. It was said that the eldest sparrow maid died in a fight with the demons, the second sparrow Zing was unfortunately captured, and the third sparrow Hua escaped from the cage and his whereabouts were unknown. Most of Zissou's first batch of student soldiers were eliminated by the demon birds, and only a few escaped. After careful inquiry through various channels, Zissou finally figured out the approximate location of the 200 sparrows captured by the bad guys. Then, Zissou immediately flew over with Zir. When the sun was about to set in the west, Zissou found from afar a huge mountain several thousand meters ahead. There were several eagles circling in the sky above it, then slowly gliding and slowly landing in the dense forest on the upper part of the mountainside. Seeing this situation, Zissou estimated that the captured sparrows were probably there. After waiting for a while, Zissou and Zir quietly flew closer and hid in the crown of a very tall tree, only 200 or 300 meters away from the dense forest. What caught the eye was a busy scene of birds. There were large disc-shaped bird nests built in the crowns of the 30 or 40 tall trees in front. They might be the nests of sparrowhawks, shrikes, crows, etc. Many sparrows with a few thick feathers plucked were cleaning the feces of these vicious big birds. Now many sparrowhawks and shrikes have hatched eggs. Their young are too unhygienic and leave their droppings everywhere, making the nests very dirty and smelly. The hygienic parents don't want to do it themselves, so they hire these sparrow prisoners to clean for them for free. No mistake, a poem, a post, a content, a book, a forum. I saw a group of sparrows flapping their partially plucked wings and flying into the employer's nest, working with their hands, no, with their mouths. The nest was covered with a layer of broken eggshells and the excrement of the young eagles. Some of the grass stems and leaves that were laid in the nest were black and damp and moldy. The sparrows picked up the broken eggshells with their beaks and threw them out of the nest. After throwing away the eggshells, they pecked at the grass stems that were spoiled by the young bird's excrement and cleaned them out of the nest one by one. Then, they flapped their wings and flew to the grass under the tree, bringing clean grass silks one after another and spreading them into the bird's nest. After being busy for more than half an hour, they finally repaired the sloppy bird's nest. If the young bird excreted new feces, the sparrow cleaner would have to clean it again until the employer was satisfied. After finishing the work, these cleaners flew back to their cells exhausted. At this time, the desperate and painful cries of sparrows came from another cell where sparrows were imprisoned. This meant that those devil birds were going to have dinner and they were going to kill sparrows and eat them. Looking at this horrible and sad scene, the purple sparrow could not help but be furious and determined to severely punish these devil birds after dark. At the same time, this scene also aroused Zira's sympathy and indignation, and she was determined to retaliate against the enemy with purple sparrows. Soon, the sky darkened. Before that, Zissou and Zira flew to the nearby forest to find insects and other food. After eating and drinking, they quietly flew back to their original place to wait for the enemy. As the night deepened, Zissou and Zira quietly discussed the action plan. In the end, they decided that they must first eliminate these evil birds before rescuing the sparrow brothers and sisters. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 183 Night Attack. Zissou didn't want these captured sparrows to live a miserable life of wandering like he did last time, escaping from pursuit and killing at night and hiding during the day. Anyway, these demon birds can't see at night, unlike Zissou and the others, who have been trained in the past few months and can basically see things within a few dozen meters at night. This is equivalent to the enemy being in the light while the two are in the dark, which puts them in a very advantageous position. After the owl called 5 times, it started to take action. Almost at the same time, they swooped down on the nearest sparrowhawk's nest. Zissou grabbed the neck of a male sparrowhawk with his poisonous claws and twisted it hard. Even if his claws were not poisonous, this move killed the demon. Zira used her 2 claws to pinch the neck of another female sparrowhawk tightly, and her long and sharp claws pierced into the demon's neck, killing the other without a sound. Then, the two of them swooped down on the bird's nest of another tree nearby, and did the same thing, starting a new round of sneak attacks and assassinations. In this way, they assassinated 2 sparrowhawk couples and 3 shrikes in succession. When they were about to turn around and assassinate the next demon bird, suddenly, a chirp cry of a young bird scared Zissou and Zira. Unexpectedly, with this bird cry, the young birds cried one after another, and the sound became louder and louder. At this time, the chirping of the young bird softened Zissou and Zira's hearts, and they were unwilling to kill them all. Faced with this accident, Zissou had to turn the sneak attack into a surprise attack. According to the current situation that the enemy has not yet figured out the specific situation, they look for a strong enemy or the enemy commander to start with. So Zissou and Zira first let go of small targets like shrikes, and look for large targets like sparrowhawks to attack. It was dark at night, and the demon bird could hardly see the specific situation outside. For a while, it couldn't figure out what happened. It had to stay in the bird's nest and hide, not daring to act rashly. I kept muttering in my heart, maybe this is an ominous sign. A disaster may come tonight. Just when the demon birds were in a state of panic, suddenly there were screams of sparrowhawks nearby. It turned out that as long as Zissou and Zira found the sparrowhawk's nest, they would quietly approach it and then launch a surprise attack. They would often pounce on it with a simple and effective move of flying clouds and lightning, grabbing the neck of the sparrowhawk that was looking around with a confused face with 2 claws, making it difficult to breathe and unable to move, and killing it in an instant. Suddenly, Zissou saw that there were 4 sparrowhawks in a huge disc-shaped eagle's nest built on the tree canopy on the lower right. It seemed that this was the nest of the leader of the demons, the red-billed spotted sparrowhawk. This dog thing really knows how to enjoy himself. He is still enjoying the blessing of having 3 wives and 4 concubines. Faced with this unexpected situation, Zissou hurriedly whispered to Zir to come to his side and hide under a tree canopy to discuss countermeasures. According to the principle of destroying as many enemy birds as possible at the lowest cost, Zissou and Zir decided to each select a target for a surprise attack, or use the poisonous nails of their claws to pierce the enemy's neck to poison the enemy bird to death. After a successful attack, they immediately retreated to prevent the other two sparrowhawks that were not attacked from coming to rescue and attack. This trick really worked. After a while, the two wives and concubines of the demon leader were killed by Zissou and his men, and they successfully evacuated. I saw two black shadows on the left and right suddenly pounced on my two wives and concubines, and then I heard two painful screams, and the two black shadows immediately left and disappeared. After a while, I saw the two wives and concubines around me bow their heads and fell to the ground, and they died in an instant. The red-billed spotted sparrowhawk, the demon leader, was frightened pale. It was so angry that it trembled all over and shouted, "What kind of hero is this who sneaks around and attacks people? If you have the guts, come out and fight me with real swords and guns." Then it shouted again, "Come on. There is an assassin here." After saying that, it suddenly stood up and flew under the tree. The last wife and concubine beside it also reacted and followed it to fly under the tree. When Zissou saw that the enemy chief got up and ran away after a feint, he hurriedly shouted chase and flew towards the enemy chief first, and Zir also hurriedly followed. When Zissou followed the enemy chief to the tree, he saw that the enemy chief did not immediately get into the nearby big tree, but fled to the dense forest in the distance. Zissou chased him closely. After a while, the enemy chief went into the dense forest and disappeared. Seeing this dark dense forest, who knows if there is an ambush of enemy birds or heavy enemy troops? Zissou had to stop chasing and called Zir to stop. There is no mistake in the content of the first post in the book. Look at it. Faced with this failure, Zissou couldn't help but regret his overly cautious decision. "Let's go and rescue the captured brothers and sisters now," Zissou said. "The current situation has changed, and our plan must be changed accordingly." "Okay. I'll listen to you. Whatever you say is what it is," Zir said. Then, Zissou flew to the prisoner camp with Zir. However, when the two flew to the place where he roughly judged during the day, they found that there were dozens of big trees in front of them, and they were not sure about the specific location of the prisoner camp and the situation inside the big trees. Zissou and the others had to stop again and study the next action plan. Zir suggested that they should simply eliminate all the enemy birds on the treetops first to weaken the enemy bird's strength, and then decide whether to attack or retreat after dawn. Zissou thought about it and felt that this was the only way. They flew up to the treetops again and checked one by one. They found that the bird nests in the treetops were empty except for the bodies of the enemy birds that had been killed and the abandoned young birds. Could it be that the enemy birds were scared away by the enemy chief's shouting? However, they still carefully searched all the bird nests in the treetops and finally found a shrike who was sleeping soundly because he was a bachelor and did not wake up and ran away. Chapter 184, Encircled. Zissou rushed over and grabbed the unfortunate shrike by the neck, woke it up, and then asked it about the specific location of the prisoner camp and the enemy guards. After asking all the questions, Zissou strangled the shrike to death with his poisonous claws without hesitation. Although Zissou was unwilling to kill the young bird and hinder the night attack, it would not talk about conscience and morality when it came to killing an adult enemy bird. After a while, Zissou found the entrance of the prisoner camp based on the information provided by the tongue. Unexpectedly, the prisoner camp was hidden in a huge spruce tree in the dense forest. It was still early in the morning, and it was dark everywhere. Although Zissou and Zir had greatly improved their night vision after several months of night vision training, they did not have the real night vision ability like tigers and owls, especially in the woods and dense trees at night. It seemed that it would be best to wait until dawn to act. Therefore, Zissou and Zir had to hide in the crown of a nearby big tree to rest and monitor. At dawn, when it was just getting light, Zissou and Zir rushed into the tree where they had been waiting for a long time, and found that there were actually 5 large bird cages in the tree. They were all woven with vines as thick as human thumbs, and each cage held at least 30 or 40 sparrows and other small birds, and each cage was guarded by a shrike. At this time, the shrikes in the cages had been awakened long ago, and were looking around with their eyes rolling around, waiting nervously at their respective posts, as if ready to pounce on the enemy birds that tried to approach them at any time. Seeing this, Zissou and Zir whispered to each other, and then each pounced on an enemy guard. Facing the oncoming black shadow, some were so scared that they dared not move, while others immediately rolled to the side. The ones who were scared were killed immediately, and those who rolled to the side to avoid soon fought with each other. Although the evading enemy bird guards delayed the time of death, they were ultimately no match for Zissou and the others who were well prepared and had poisonous claws. A few minutes later, the 5 guards were completely wiped out. The next step was to open the cell door. Zissou found that the cell door was tied tightly by a vine as thick as a human index finger. In addition, it was darker inside the tree than outside. After a long time, she still couldn't untie the annoying vine. On the other side, Zir had opened the cell door long ago and released 32 suffering bird brothers and sisters. Seeing this, Zissou became even more anxious and hurriedly woke up the brothers who were sleeping in the cell, asking them to come and help untie the ropes. Suddenly, there was a sharp bird cry outside the tree, one after another. Zissou hurriedly asked what the cry meant, and a captured sparrow told Zissou that it was the enemy eagle's assembly call. Zissou was very surprised when he heard it, and knew that the enemy eagle was about to start a counterattack. It quickly called Zir to its side and said, "It's almost dawn. The demon birds are going to start counterattacking us. There are so many of them, and I'm afraid we are outnumbered and it will be difficult to win. You take these little birds that we rescued for a long time and go first." "No. I can't abandon you. We will soon be an official couple, how can we be separated?" Zir said, "Besides, look at these little birds that have come out. They are so skinny that they are just skin and bones, and almost all of them have their feathers plucked. How can they fly or escape? Then what should we do?" Zissou said, "Are we just going to abandon them and don't care about them? Do you think there is a better way?" Zir asked. "It seems that the only effective way is to kill or drive away these demons," Zissou said, and then said to the released birds, "Brothers and sisters, the enemy eagles are coming soon. We can't take you all with us now. We will go out to kill the enemy right now, and then take you all out after killing the enemy eagles. Now we have to ask you to go back to the cell temporarily and tie the door again. Don't let the enemy eagles find you, so as not to harm you. Chief, when can you rescue us? We really can't stand it here," a captured sparrow asked hurriedly. "Soon, we will be back soon," Zissou comforted them, and then flew out of the tree with Zir and got into another big tree next to it. At this time, Zir whispered, "Do you really want to attack them in broad daylight? This is a very dangerous and unwise move, just like a moth flying into a flame and destroying itself." Zissou calmed down and said, "Yes. I was too impulsive and too eager for success. We are not clear about the total number of enemy birds and their deployment. Otherwise, we should fly to the top of the tallest tree to scout. That's a good idea. But be careful not to be discovered by the enemy eagles," Zir said worriedly. "Wait, let's jump to the crown of this big tree first and observe the situation outside." Then, she took the lead and flew to the branches above, climbing up one branch after another, step by step, and finally rushed to the top of the tree. Zissou followed closely and looked out of the tree with her. There were hundreds of medium and large birds of prey on a flat-top tree outside, including sparrowhawks, falcons, shrikes and crows, and 2 or 3 falcons were circling in the air to scout and try to find the assassin's hiding place. Faced with such a serious situation, Zir said, "See? It's very dangerous outside now. If we fight hard, we are outnumbered and are no match for the demon bird. Yet, I never thought the demon bird was so powerful." Zissou also said with a frown, "It seems that we misjudged the current situation last night and were too confident. In fact, the current situation is worse than we thought. It is still a question whether we can break out now. Even if we can break out, I'm afraid we can't sneak attack them at night. Because the demons are already on guard." Zir sighed, "This is all because of your soft-heartedness last night, which led to the serious consequence of failure." Chapter 185, Breakout, Part 1. "Are you asking me to learn from the devil too?" Zissou said, "I can't do that, I really can't do it. To deal with the devil, you have to use the devil's method," Zir said unhappily. "This is called give someone a taste of their own medicine. This is really when will the cycle of revenge end. Since you think this way, then you don't have to save your brothers and sisters." "Did I say I won't save them?" "Even if you didn't say that, you can't save them if you have such an idea. Because your enemy eagles are very powerful and cruel, and they will not be merciful to you. Hey! Let alone saving them now, I'm afraid we can't even get out," It seems that we can only sneak away when the enemy eagles scouting in the sky are not paying attention, then we will pass through the lower branches between the trees to implement the breakout. Quick, let's go out this way." After saying that, Zissou took the lead and jumped down the branches one by one until he reached the lowest branch. Then he suddenly got out of the big tree and flew to the lower branch of another nearby outer big tree. Zir followed closely behind, flying behind Zissou. Just when the two of them flew to the third big tree, suddenly, "Come on! The assassin is here!" A shrike who was on guard on the crown of a nearby tree discovered them and shouted loudly. In this critical moment, Zissou had to calm down and think about how to deal with a strong enemy in the most difficult time. It said to Zir, "Where's the big tree with the most leaves nearby? We will stop the demon bird in this tree until it gets dark and then break out. I see that there seems to be a dense forest with lush branches and leaves 200 meters to the left front. Otherwise, we should hide there," Zir said. "That place is good," said Zissou, "but there is an open area between here and there, and we have to fly continuously, which makes it easy for falcons and sparrowhawks that fly faster than us to intercept us, which is very dangerous. I think we should go to the tall tree with dense branches and leaves 80 meters to the right, and guard this tree until dark. Let's go." Then, he took Zir and swooped towards the tree. In the blink of an eye, they plunged into the tree. When Zissou and Zir entered the tree, a sparrowhawk and two shrikes followed and also swooped into the tree. So Zissou and Zir had to play hide-and-seek with the enemy birds. However, as the enemy birds broke into the tree one after another, the situation became more and more unfavorable for Zissou and the others. Although they could hide temporarily because of the dense branches and leaves of the tree, it would be troublesome if it lasted for a long time. Therefore, Zissou decided to start counterattacking immediately, and it and Zir each found the nearest target to attack. It found a sparrowhawk jumping down the branches one level at a time, and wanted to find Shisa to fight with him. When Shisa jumped to a branch very close to it, Shisa immediately rushed out from under the leaves. With a move of swallow drilling clouds, it suddenly jumped up and grabbed the neck of the sparrowhawk with its claws, and then twisted it hard, breaking its neck. With a scream, it died. At the same time, Zir also used the move of swallow flying clouds to flip over a pile of leaves above her head, and then used a move of a crane soaring to the sky to attack a shrike jumping down one level at a time. In an instant, it also killed it under its poisonous claws. In a blink of an eye, Shisa and Zir eliminated two enemy birds, and the other party didn't know what was going on. 3 more shrikes came down, and Zissou and the others killed 2 of them without hesitation. The remaining shrikes was frightened by the scene in front of them. It had never dreamed that Zissou and the others would attack so quickly and so cruelly, almost killing them with one move, clean and neat, without any drag. It was stunned by this fast and vicious killing method that it had never seen before, and immediately thought that it must not stay here for long. So it turned around and flapped its wings and fled out, shouting as it ran for its life, "There are ghosts. The devil is coming. Kill them with one move, as fast as lightning, no mistake, 1 post, 1 content, 1 6, 1 9, 1 book, 1 bar, 1 look." Seeing this shrike running away with its head in its hands, Zissou couldn't help but feel excited and courageous. In a flash, it rushed over several branches in a row to fight the new enemy bird. Zir was not willing to be left behind, and followed Zissou up. A shrike was ignorant and rushed towards Zissou. Zissou first used the move riding the dragon to track the phoenix to dodge the enemy bird's frontal attack, and then used the move as flexible as a swimming dragon to turn behind the enemy bird, stretched out his iron poison claws to grab the enemy bird's neck, pinched it with all his strength, and the poison claws pierced into the enemy bird's neck muscles. The enemy bird was immediately paralyzed and powerless, and immediately kicked his legs to see the king of hell. Zir also used the move as graceful as a startled swan to attack a sparrowhawk that was looking around. With a move white rainbow piercing the sun, he unexpectedly pinched the opponent's throat, pinched and twisted it hard, and killed the confused sparrowhawk. The 2 birds fought side by side, rushing left and right, rushing around, killing the enemy birds and making them flee in all directions. There were about 30 enemy birds that entered the forest, but they left more than 10 dead bodies, and the rest were scared and ran away. Upon seeing this, the enemy chieftain cursed outside, "You 2 shameless black rats hiding in the gutter and drinking stinky water, you only know how to shoot arrows from the dark and carry out assassinations in dark corners. You are as cowardly as mice and do all kinds of shameful things. If you have the ability, come out and fight with real swords and guns." That's what real heroes are. When Zissou heard this, he knew that the demons might change their tactics and try to adopt new tactics to defeat them. So he said to Zir, "Let's go to the top of this tree and see if there is any place we can break out." Then, he climbed up step by step, climbed to the branch below the crown of the tree, hid behind the leaves and looked out. Chapter 186 Breakout, Part 2. The scene in front of him shocked Zissou. There were many crows perched on many trees around. Although there were only dozens of shrikes and sparrowhawks, why were there so many crows? Don't crows like to eat dead animals? Could it be that there were many dead animals here, or did the crows believe that we would kill these evil birds? Just as Zissou was thinking this, suddenly, a group of crows flew over from all directions and landed under the big tree where Zissou and Zir were, fighting for the bodies of sparrowhawks and shrikes that had been killed by Zissou and his friends and fell from the tree. As more and more crows appeared under the tree, they actually fought under the tree for the bodies of these dead birds that had just begun to rot, which shocked many of the surrounding birds. At this time, Zir, who was standing next to Zissou, suddenly pointed to a dense forest in the northwest and said, "As long as we find a way to fly into that dense forest, we will be safe." Zissou took a look, thought for a moment, and said, "What are we waiting for? You see, there are more crows on the trees in the north, but there are fewer demon birds such as sparrowhawks and shrikes. Why don't we go around here and rush out while the birds around are watching the crows fighting for food?" Zir also nodded in agreement and said, "If we don't leave now, when will we leave?" After saying that, she actually rushed out of the tree first and pounced on the tree more than 100 meters in front. Zissou also hurriedly followed. The enemy chief did not expect Zissou and his men to take the opportunity to escape. When the sentinel bird discovered and reported to them, Zissou and his men had already passed through 3 trees. When the enemy chief, the red-billed spotted sparrowhawk, led a large group of demon birds to chase them, Zissou and Zir were almost close to the edge of the mysterious dense forest. This is a dark, damp, primeval forest filled with the smell of decaying plants and animals, a miasma. The branches and leaves almost completely cover the sky. Vines clinging to the big trees grow in clusters, and some ferns cover the damp and dim places. The ground is fertile black soil, but unfortunately there is a lack of sunlight all year round. The forest is full of rotten leaves and bones of dead animals. However, every big tree strives to grow in all directions, with tall and dense branches and leaves interlaced left and right, greedily catching every bit of sunlight. As a result, although the sun is still high in the sky, the forest is as dim as evening under the cover of leaves and branches. The old trees, with dead vines hanging on them, sway in the dim light in coordination with the dim environment, like ghosts. As soon as Shizo and the others entered this gloomy dense forest, they smelled a pungent and unpleasant smell coming towards them, and they immediately felt a little uncomfortable breathing. So, it hurriedly said to Zir, "Have we come to the wrong place? The air here seems to be poisonous." Zir also said, "Yes. It seems to be similar to the smell in the valley pool where we practiced poison claws." "Then let's go find the deer-killing antidote herb." "Okay. It seems that this is the only way," Zissou said. "However, we still jump to the tree crown, use the cover of the tall and dense leaves, fly over quietly, and slowly search. Wait, we have been fighting since last night, and I am hungry. Aren't you hungry? Otherwise, let's find a way to escape from this forest of death. Let's find something to eat first." "No problem. Let's fly north for a while, and then fly west," Zissou said, and then took the lead to jump up along the branches. When it jumped 2 or 3 meters away from the top of the tree, it flew away from the big tree and flew towards a big tree in the north. Zir followed Zissou and flew forward. At this time, the demon birds that were chasing them were scared away by the miasma in the forest and dared not come in. They just circled over the edge of the forest. According to the original plan, Zissou and Zir flew north for a while, then flew west, flying through the dense forest. About half an hour later, they finally flew out of the miasma forest and got rid of the enemy birds. The red sunset filled the sky, and the sun was about to set. Zissou and Zir were on a weedy forest meadow. After catching all kinds of locusts, crickets, dragonflies, ants, whiteflies and mantises, they chased and played on the grass, making this small forest swamp present a happy scene. It was getting dark, and they had a lot of fun and were very tired, so they flew to the crown of a nearby big tree and hugged each other to sleep, and soon fell asleep. Zissou had a very romantic and sweet dream. He dreamed that he and Zir were getting married like the ancients. He wore a black melon-shaped hat and a black jacket, while Zir wore a bright red wedding dress with a big red cloth on her head. They both walked into the bridal chamber under the blessings of countless relatives and friends and the sound of firecrackers and suona. Zissou was very excited and gently lifted the bride's veil. He found that the bride was a very strange young beauty. She had a pair of big blue eyes, a high nose, a cherry mouth, and looked at him gently with a sweet and naughty smile. Zissou almost dropped his jaw in shock. He stammered, "You, who are you? How come you are my bride?" The strange beauty gently touched Zissou's nose with her white and soft fingers and said, "Silly boy, I am Susan. Have you forgotten me? No mistakes in one post, one content, one book, one forum, 1619, one book, one forum, one look." Zissou was shocked and said, "Susan, is it really you? Are you really Susan?" Susan said shyly, "It's really me, I am your wife now." She was silent for a while, and then said, "Lieutenant Colonel Zissou, no, you can't run away, I don't know where you can run to. You are my husband now." Zissou was very excited and held Susan's super beautiful face with both hands and kissed her fiercely, and then nagging, "Susan, Susan, do you know how much I miss you? I have been looking for you so hard. Where have you been?" Susan smiled and said, "I used to be Princess Linxio of the Red Ant Kingdom. Now I am the Queen of the Red Ant Kingdom. I have all the power, but I am very powerful." Zissou was shocked and said, "What? You are the queen? Which country's queen?" Susan said, "Red Ant Kingdom." Chapter 187, Love Between a Young Man and a Young Woman. Zissou asked in confusion, "Red Ant Kingdom? Isn't that an ant kingdom? Aren't you a human? How can you be the king of the ant kingdom?" Susan said, "I can change." Zissou was even more confused. "Then did you change from a human to an ant, or from an ant to human?" Susan said, "It's alright, as long as you like." Zissou was shocked. "Then you have become a monster. Where is my Zir? Where did you take my Zir? Did you kill her?" Susan said, "Don't think about your Zir. I am your Zir, I am your bride. I don't allow you to find another woman. You will always belong to me." Susan. Just as they were arguing, suddenly, a ghost wearing a black cloak, with a black gauze covering his face and two yellow-green eyes shining, broke in from outside the bridal chamber, and shouted, "You two have been quarreling since you entered the bridal chamber. Do you want to get a divorce? You don't know how lucky you are. You found a bride who is more beautiful than a fairy and you are not satisfied. Then you give me your bride, and I will take her away right now." Then he rushed up, grabbed Susan's hand, and walked out the door. Zissou was horrified and hurriedly stood up to pull Susan, but was knocked to the ground by the ghost. Zissou hurriedly shouted, "Susan, Susan, my bride." However, the ghost took Susan's bride out the door, and disappeared in the blink of an eye. This was a big scare. Zissou was frightened and broke into cold sweat, and woke up from his dream. He opened his eyes and saw that the sky was still dark, but Zir woke up, staring at him with her big, slightly shining yellow eyes, and asked with a sad face, "Who is Susan? Is she your old lover who you will never forget?" "No, she is my lover in the last life." Zissou saw that something was wrong and hurriedly explained. "Tisk, the lover in the last life? No ghost would believe you. Don't you think your lying skills are too low level? Do you think I'm still a kindergarten kid?" "No, I never lied to you. Susan and I have been good friends, the best of friends, for many lifetimes in the previous life." "No, it was the previous life, for many lifetimes." "Humph, you've been best friends for several lifetimes, then have you ever been husband and wife? You can't even make up such a simple story." "We were husband and wife once in the previous life. We've been husband and wife for several lifetimes and we've only been husband and wife for one lifetime." "Haha, haha, haha. You really can make up jokes." "No, it should be said to be myths. Can you tell me your myth story?" "What I'm telling is not a myth, it's a real, true story. Believe it or not." So, Zissou told her in detail how he came from the Earth in the solar system to the Earth in the Tiankui system and the series of adventures that followed. However, the fact that the soul was transplanted by the humans on this planet was not explained, but glossed over, saying that it was the will of the King of Hell. Zir was amazed and fascinated, just like listening to a long mythological novel. When Zissou finished speaking, the sky was already bright, and Zir was still immersed in the story. Seeing her lowering her head and looking silent and thoughtful, Zissou said, "Hey, what are you daydreaming about? Let's go and have breakfast." Zir raised her head and asked, So, you haven't seen her since then? You haven't gone to find her? Of course, I have too many things of my own, too bizarre, and changing too fast. I didn't have time to think about this problem. Then how could she come into your dream? You still dare to say that you didn't miss her? Humph. You are always lying. Well, I really didn't miss her. I'm not lying to you. Maybe it appeared in my subconscious. It's not my fault. Humph. I just don't believe that my beautiful Asur can't compare to a mere ant. Even though she is the queen of the ant kingdom, she is still just a tiny ant after all. Yes, you can do it. You are great. That's all. Let's go have breakfast. Seeing Zaire pouting and looking angry, Zissou found it funny and comforted her like this. That's more like it. Remember this, I am your present and future tense, and she, Su-san, will always be your past tense. From now on, you can only have me in your mind, not her. Otherwise, humph, I'll make you pay. Zaire said with jealousy in her heart. Seeing this, Zissou shook his head with a wry smile and thought, how come women have such a strong possessiveness? This jealousy made him a little puzzled. After breakfast, the two of them practiced kung fu for nearly an hour, and exchanged and practiced practical tactics and coping skills for an hour. As they had been telling and listening to stories most of the night before, they were too sleepy to open their eyes after lunch, so they both lay on the branches, and soon fell into deep sleep. No mistake, one poem, one content, one book, one forum, 1619, one book, one forum, one forum. When they woke up, the moon had risen very high. In fact, there is also a moon on this planet, and there are two moons, one big and one small, one far and one near. At this time, two very bright moons appeared in the sky, illuminating the earth, even brighter than that rainy day. This created favorable conditions for the two to act at night. When he thought of the brothers and sisters who were still imprisoned and suffering, Zissou had a fearless and adventurous spirit and courage that surged up, making him unable to control his emotions and calm thinking. He thought that the enemy birds would relax after midnight, and he had already figured out the way, so nothing should happen. So he wanted to take Zaire to scout the camp. Zaire asked, aren't you afraid of being ambushed? Zissou said, as long as we are careful, there should be no problem, right? Zaire said, I think it won't work. Zissou asked back, how do you know it won't work if you don't go and take a look? Zaire said, a fool can see that the enemy birds will be on guard or even ambush. We should think twice before we act. Zissou asked again, then what do you say we should do? We can't go to scout during the day, and we can't go to scout at night, so when can we go? Zaire said, we have to wait at least a few days to see, and wait until the enemy birds relax their vigilance, then we can go. Chapter 188, Falling into the Demon's Clutches Again. Zissou said, but I don't want to wait even a quarter of an hour. Oh. It's so annoying, Zaire thought, anyone who wants to do great things must be able to endure loneliness. How can you accomplish great things when you are as anxious as a monkey scratching its butt? Zissou complained, I'm as anxious as an ant on a hot pot, and you are still here making sarcastic remarks. You don't understand the tact of others, Zaire said, I am trying to comfort you with good intentions, but you say that others are sarcastic and I will ignore you. You can go or not, and I don't bother to care whether you live or die. Anyway, it's you who is looking for death, not me. Zissou saw that Zaire was angry, and said quickly, okay, if you don't want to go, then don't go. I listen to you, is that not enough? Zaire said happily, that's more like it, this is what a good child of mommy should be. Zissou said, who do you say is mommy? Zaire said evasively, of course it's your mommy. Zissou pretended to be confused and said, of course. If there is nothing else, then why don't we go out for a walk and come back later? In this beautiful night, the two lovers fly together, inseparable. Logically, they should be very happy. But in fact, they each have their own thoughts and are full of worries. Zissou is thinking about how to rescue the Sparrow brothers and sisters, while Zaire is thinking about what kind of person Su-san is that makes Zissou so unforgettable. Therefore, even though the couple is enjoying the beautiful scenery under the moon and flowers, they don't feel much warmth and happiness in the human world. Another night, two moons, one large and one small, still rose in the sky. Zissou was worried about the Sparrow companions in the prisoner camp, who had no freedom and were suffering, and felt bad. Zissou tossed and turned and couldn't fall asleep, but Zaire beside her had already fallen into a beautiful dream early. Zissou looked at Zaire who was sleeping soundly beside her and thought, Why don't I go there and take a look while Zir is sleeping soundly? If I am captured, at least there is hope of being rescued. Because there's Zir, she will not stand by and watch me die. It is much better than both of us being captured together. Yes, it is decided. This is called you can't catch a wolf without sacrificing a lamb. There are risks in doing anything. If you are afraid of risks, what can you accomplish? What's more, I am an immortal bird. Zissou gently turned over and rolled under the tree. When it was about to land, it spread its wings and flew high. Under the guidance of the two moons, it flew towards the sparrow prisoner camp. It is not flying through the dense forest now, but flying blatantly on the treetops. This speed is at least several times faster. Before long, it gradually approached the prisoner camp. When it was about 500 meters away from the destination, it landed on a tall tree crown and looked ahead. On a bright and beautiful night, the forest was like an oil painting full of mystery and temptation. Zissou could not help but feel a little appreciative and intoxicated. He took a deep breath and thought, how wonderful it would be if there were no vendettas, no blood, only sweet words between lovers and visions of the future on such a charming night. However, the cruel reality broke his beautiful ideal. Now, the only thing he had to do was to fight for his ideals and for freedom. It was already the second half of the night. And he could start. Zissou immediately set off and flew forward, trying to reduce the sound of his wings flapping in the air, and quietly approached the prisoner camp. 400 meters, 300 meters, 200 meters, 100 meters, he immediately landed on the crown of a big tree, carefully observing the surrounding movements, and found nothing unusual. He relaxed a little, prepared himself, and thought about the next action plan. Suddenly, the prisoners in the prisoner camp had cried out in pain, oh, and it was obvious that another prisoner was tortured by the enemy birds. Zissou was immediately furious. He stood up and flew towards the big tree where the prisoner camp was built without hesitation. As soon as he entered the big tree, he felt a black shadow in front of his eyes. A huge black shadow suddenly fell from the sky and pounced on him, catching him off guard. At the same time, he was knocked unconscious by a stick as thick as a human thumb. Zissou was captured again, and unfortunately, Zir's words came true. This is called if you don't listen to the advice of the elderly, you will suffer in front of you. It was unknown how long it took for Zissou to slowly wake up and find that it was already dawn. He had been tied with many ropes made of tough long grass, and his feet and wings were tied so that he could not move. There was a shrike guarding in front of him, staring at him arrogantly and curiously, as if he wanted to see through him. No, it should be said that he was studying him to see what kind of ghost he was, and he could kill more than 30 big birds. Zissou didn't expect that he would be captured by the enemy bird so easily. A perfect poem, a post, a content, a 6-9 book, a forum, a glance. It's so embarrassing. No, it's embarrassing for the bird. What kind of hero bird is it? It's obviously a stupid bird, a bird that's so stupid that it makes pig noises. It can't be any stupider. It fell into the trap so easily. I'm embarrassed to talk about it in the future. Zissou regretted it so much that it couldn't be any worse. But there is no medicine for regret in this world. Half an hour later, Zissou gradually calmed down. After careful thinking, it thought that it must have met a high person. There must be a master among the enemy birds to guide them, so there would be such a clever ambush design. Who could be such a smart opponent? The answer will be revealed soon. Not long after, the red-billed spotted sparrowhawk appeared. Could it be it? Impossible. Is it so smart? At this time, the devil bird swaggered to Zissou and said arrogantly, "Oh, I was wondering who this is. It turned out to be you. Aren't you very capable? You were plucked and sneaked away from me in the middle of the night. After coming back, you were so bold that you killed so many of my brothers, including my 2 concubines. I am so angry. Today, if I don't skin you alive, I will be a stupid bird with all its feathers plucked." Chapter 189, Shocked. You want to be a plucked bird? I warmly welcome you. That's fair and reasonable, Zissou said sarcastically. You can't pluck my feathers but not let me pluck yours. How can that work? You're about to die, but you're still stubborn. I'll pluck all your feathers and eat your meat later. I wonder how you can still show off, the red-billed sparrowhawk said angrily. You devil, executioner, you'll die a miserable death, Zissou said angrily. Suddenly, an owl hooted twice, quack, quack, and soon, an owl appeared. Zissou looked up and saw that it was the owl Dao Menzi. She was very surprised and shouted, "Brother, come and save me, Unexpectedly, Dao Menzi snorted and said with a frosty face, I am not your elder brother, and I don't have a hateful younger brother like you. Brother, what's going on? Zisu said confusedly. How come I don't understand it at all? You have to ask yourself, the owl said. You did a good thing yourself, don't you know it at all? What did I do wrong? Zisu said puzzledly. I really don't know at all. Did you design the assassination of the golden eagle? Dao Menzi asked. He is my second brother, my first sworn brother, and my most trusted good brother. But you, a guy who doesn't know the height of the world, killed him. Do you think I can't be sad and painful? Ah. Zisu thought, the golden eagle turned out to be the second brother of the owl. This is really unexpected. What should I do? What I did should be unnoticed by God and ghosts. How did Dao Menzi know this? Maybe it was just a random guess? I might as well pretend I don't know. Thinking of this, Zisu said, Brother, wasn't the golden eagle bitten to death by a snake? What does this have to do with me? You can't just wrongly accuse me. Would I wrongly accuse you? Said the owl. This was told to me by the nightingale herself. She told me everything about how you used the trick and how you sent her to carry out the mission at night. Do you still want to quibble and deny it? Zisu was shocked when he heard this. He didn't expect the nightingale to betray the revolution. Now that the truth has been revealed, what can I do? Dao Menzi already has witnesses, and now only physical evidence is missing. Although it is meaningless to deny it outright, it can at least confuse the owl and make it hesitant. I didn't expect you to be so sinister and vicious. What do you have to say now? The owl continued. How should I deal with you? Should I skin you alive or burn you to death? In short, I can't let you go for such a scheming guy. Brother, you've been fooled. This is nonsense from the little goblin nightingale. She wanted to win your favor and make you use her, so she made up such a horrifying story. Zisu said, think about it. Am I that smart? If I were that smart, how could you have caught me so easily? Besides, it's true that the nightingale can sing, but for her to be able to talk to a poisonous snake and make it listen to her, isn't this a night talk? Besides, eagles and poisonous snakes are mortal enemies. Eagles and golden eagles have been bitten to death by poisonous snakes before. It's not a rare thing, Zisu continued. Maybe the golden eagle didn't get enough rest that day and was not focused when hunting. He was distracted and was bitten by the poisonous snake and lost his life. When the owl Dao Menzi heard this, he thought what Zisu said made sense. His round eyes rolled around for a while and he said, even if you didn't plan to kill the golden eagle, you killed dozens of my subordinates here the past 2 days. You won't deny it, right? Did you see me killing your subordinates with your own eyes, or did you hear it from other birds? Zisu asked. Of course I heard it from other birds, from the sparrowhawk and the shrike, Dao Menzi said. They said that they saw with their own eyes 2 devilish sparrows killing many of their brothers. Do you want to quibble even about this, brother? You don't know. How could I have the ability to kill dozens of their brothers? Zisu continued to argue. Although I am also some kind of bird king, you also know that others have 2 sparrows carrying out tasks together, but I am a sparrow visiting alone. Those 2 sparrows are so smart and capable that they can break through the siege and escape in broad daylight, but I, a stupid sparrow, rushed in the middle of the night to die. Do you think I would be in the same group with them? This is just a coincidence, no mistakes. 1 poem, 1 post, 1 content, 1 book, 1 forum, 1 6, 1 9, 1 book, 1 forum. Take a look. Is it really such a coincidence? I see you have been telling lies all the time, trying to deceive me so that you can get away with it, right? Said the owl. I solemnly warn you, don't even think about letting me go before I find out the truth. After saying that, he wanted to turn around and leave. Wait a minute. Big brother, may I ask, is my dance troupe in your hands now? Zisu asked. Of course, after you left, I couldn't just sit there and watch such a great bird dance troupe disband, right? Dao Menzi said, so, I took it over. Do you have any objections? No. How could I dare to have any objections? As long as you are satisfied, Zisu said. However, I still have a small matter, and I want to ask you to promise me, big brother. That is, can you let my sparrow brothers and sisters go? They are all innocent. You can catch me, but there is no need to catch them. I can catch whoever I want to catch, and you don't need to say anything, the owl said. Besides, these damn sparrows, when I wanted to take over the dance troupe, not only did they come out to stop me, but they also fought back desperately and injured many of my brothers. I was so angry that I caught them. These are none of your business. You can't even protect yourself now, so you should pay more attention to your own business." After that, he turned away and refused to pay attention to Zissou. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 190. Boy, you will cry sooner or later. Humph, the red-billed sparrowhawk said, and followed him. As soon as the owl Daomunzi returned to his room, he lay on the bed with soft straw mats, feeling very depressed. It thought, although all the evidence points to Zissou, proving that it is the culprit who killed its second brother and assassinated dozens of its brothers, there is still insufficient evidence. Because it has not been caught in the act, and there is no solid evidence like humans such as videos, so words are not enough. What's more, Zissou's sophistry has some truth. Could it be that the murderer is really not this stupid bird? Otherwise, how could I catch it so easily? If I caught the wrong bird and let the real culprit go, wouldn't I lose a lot? Oh, it's really a headache. After thinking for a long time, I still couldn't figure it out. The owl called the Shrike Sentinel who had seen the two murderers 2 days ago and asked him, "Did you see the appearance of the two murderer sparrows that day?" The Shrike Sentinel said, "I was standing on a very high tree that day, and they flew too fast. I only saw their blurry backs. I can't tell what they looked like. I only know that they were two sparrows." "Asshole, what you said is all bullshit," the owl said angrily. "You've been talking for a long time, but it's the same as saying nothing. You're just a waste. Get out." The Shrike Sentinel ran away in fear. After a while, the owl called the red-billed sparrowhawk in again and asked, "Did you see the murderer who attacked you that night?" "I didn't see it clearly. I only saw two sparrow-sized black shadows flying over. They strangled my two concubines to death with their claws, and then quickly disappeared," the red-billed sparrowhawk said, "but I can be sure that this bad boy must have participated in the assassination. I have this intuition. Some things are not easy to guess without real evidence," the owl said. "Do you think the murderer's attack method is similar to the method used by the little bird king when fighting you before?" This is really hard to say," the red-billed sparrowhawk thought for a while and said, "When it fought with me before, it tried to hide as much as possible and pecked you with its beak suddenly. And this time the murderer attacked with its claws to strangle your neck, accurately and fiercely. It seems a little different, but I still feel the fierce breath of the little bird king." "Another random guess without real evidence," the owl said dissatisfiedly. "Maybe your feeling is wrong. You didn't see it with your own eyes, and you also think that its attack method is different from that of the murderer. But you still think it is it. I think you are a little unreasonable. You go away. I don't think there's any need for us to talk about it anymore. I don't want to create another unjust case and let people poke my spine and say that I framed my sworn brother. No, my king. What I said is absolutely not wrong," the red-billed spotted sparrowhawk hurriedly argued. "My intuition has never been wrong, and it will not be wrong this time. Please believe me. My king, I don't want to say my words again." "Get out," said the owl of Daomunzi angrily. Not long after the red-billed spotted sparrowhawk rolled out, a shrike-guard ran in and reported, "There is a distinguished guest visiting." "Who? Come to knock on the door so early?" asked the owl. "It's a crane. It said it is your longtime friend," said the shrike-guard. "Oh. I remember, it turned out to be Men Li Sao. Please invite it in quickly," said Daomunzi. After a while, a crane with elegant manners came in and greeted him as soon as they met. "Old friend, long time no see. How are you recently?" The owl quickly stood up and returned the greeting. "Thanks to you, I'm fine recently. How have you been?" "Not very well," the crane shook his head and said, "It's precisely because I'm not very well that I come to you and ask for your help." "How can I help you?" the owl said puzzledly. "Aren't you secretly in love with a white swan, and you are so repressed and coquettish? Why do you change your temper this time and want to do something else?" "No mistake, one poem, one post, one content, one book, one forum. Take a look." "How can you change your temperament so easily?" the crane said with a wry smile. "Isn't there an old saying? It is easy to change the country, but difficult to change one's nature. Since you haven't changed your temperament, that means you are still secretly in love with a white swan. So why did you come to me?" the owl said confusedly. "Do you want me to help you chase the white swan? Then, if I catch it in the end, It will be mine, not yours. I didn't come here this time to ask you to help me chase the white swan, the crane said. I just want to borrow a bird from you. Just borrow a bird. Is it that simple? Dao Menzi asked in disbelief. Isn't there anything else important? Just borrow a bird, a small bird, to be exact, a sparrow, the crane said. There's really nothing else. Not to mention important things, even ordinary small things are gone. Ah! How could there be such a strange thing? You would come all the way to ask me for a little sparrow, said the owl. It seems that this little sparrow is very important to you. But, I have a lot of sparrows here. I wonder which one you want. Of course it's the sparrow that is the smartest and most powerful, known as the king of birds, the crane said clearly. Ah! I just caught it this morning, and you found out so quickly, and even came to ask for it. It's incredible, the owl said in surprise. How did you know? Did you plant an undercover agent next to me? As for how I knew it, it's really inconvenient for me to tell you, the crane said mysteriously, because I promised her to keep it a secret. So I can't tell you. Please understand, since you don't want to tell me how you know this, then I can't help you. Please go back, said Dao Menzi. Chapter 191, Accidental Rescue. You, how could you do this? You are so dishonest, the crane said angrily. I have been friends with you for so many years. I have made a good friend for nothing. Humph, don't be angry. As long as you give me a little information, you can't be so stingy, right? The owl bargained. I can only say that I didn't get the information from you, the crane pondered for a while and said. You didn't get the information from me, but you can know who I caught. Don't you think it's strange? The owl also thought for a long time and said, oh. I know, it must be this kid's accomplices who followed him, saw him being arrested, and asked you for help. It must be like this. So, you are unwilling to lend it to me? Asked the crane. It's not a question of whether you are willing or not, but because he is the main suspect in many unsolved cases, we have to investigate, the owl said with a headache. How can I hand such an important suspect to you? What if he runs away? It seems that you still don't trust me, said the crane. Actually, I didn't ask you for it. I just asked you to borrow it and I will return it to you after I use it, but I'm still worried, said the owl, unless you do me a favor and help me find out the real culprit of these bloody cases. Aren't you asking too much? Said the crane. If I were that smart and had that ability, I wouldn't be called Minliseo and I would have chased the white swan long ago, and I wouldn't have to ask you for help. You are pursuing the white swan, but you ask me to borrow the murder suspect, Dao Menzi said. You are not going to do something bad, are you? Can you tell me a little about your thoughts? Well, let's not talk about this, said the crane. We have been friends for so many years. Don't you know me? I have always been a good person. You are also a good person? Why don't I have any impression of you, said the owl. I remember that you are not only introverted and coquettish, but also sarcastic and even a little stingy. I will not be stingy this time. After the crane said this, he used one of its claws to carefully take off a sapphire from his neck, solemnly handed it to the owl, and said, as long as you lend me the sparrow, I will put this priceless gem in your hand as collateral. When I return this sparrow to you after using it, I will redeem it. What do you think of this? In that case, our transaction seems to be relatively fair. The owl was very happy, but pretended to be indifferent. That's right. We are friends. We are old friends. How can the transaction between us be unfair? It is absolutely fair, but why do I feel that you must have some shameful purpose in doing this? You know, you have never been so generous before. This is really unprecedented. In the past, let alone pawning this treasure with me, you would not even let me take a look at it. Why are you so generous today? Isn't this the sun is rising from the west? It's really strange. I am forced into a corner by you. If there's any way, I would not spend so much money. Right, you actually said that. Then today I am more and more curious and interested in your affairs. You know, there's a proverb called curiosity kills the cat. The crane rolled his eyes at the funny owl and said dissatisfiedly. I'm not a cat. What am I afraid of? The funny owl raised his eyebrows and said as if he didn't care. Actually, you are a cat flying in the sky. Otherwise, why are you called an owl? What's more, cats like to eat mice, and you like to eat mice too. You basically belong to the same kind of animal. Hey, the more you talk, the more ridiculous it is. Since you don't want to say it, forget it. I won't force you. I'm just a little curious. So you mean, you agree, the crane said excitedly. Then bring it here as soon as possible, and we can just clear the birds and the goods. No hurry, no hurry. You have come to my place with great difficulty, so I should at least show my hospitality, right? Dao Menzi said. Besides, I am very troubled by this mysterious case in my hand. Otherwise, you can help me analyze it, help me solve the case as soon as possible, catch the murderer, and put my mind at ease. You overestimate my ability. You can't do anything about it. Don't you think I can help you solve it? You don't have to be too modest. In fact, you are sometimes smarter. It's just that those involved are confused, but those who are on the sidelines can see things more clearly. Right now, I suspect that I am those involved are confused, and I hope that you, those who are on the sidelines, can see things more clearly, can help me to understand the confusion. Since you think so highly of me, I don't have to be too hypocritical. Then tell me, can I help you analyze it? So, the owl told everything it knew. After listening to Dao Menzi's narration, the crane had a rough outline in its mind, and it also began to suspect that it was Shisu who did it, and it also estimated that it might have done it. No mistake, one post, one content, 1619, one book, one bar, one look. However, the crane couldn't say it, because it didn't matter if it said it. Not only would it kill Shisu, but also its own plan would be ruined. Therefore, even if it knew that it was Shisu who did it, and that Shisu was the biggest culprit, it would not tell anyone, and if anyone said so, it would deny it flatly. Thinking of this, the crane shook his head and said, I can't figure it out either, but I'm almost certain that it wasn't done by the little bird king. Think about it. If it was done by it, why did it run back to fall into the trap after finally breaking out? Is there such a stupid bird in the world? Besides, the last time it was two sparrows that committed the crime, so this time it should be two sparrows as well. Therefore, it is certain that the little bird king didn't do this murder. I guarantee it with my personality. Excuse me, wasn't it a sparrow that tipped you off? The owl suddenly remembered something and asked hurriedly. What sparrow? Who told you it was a sparrow? The crane vowed. Although I promised the person that I would not tell anyone, I can assure you that it is definitely not a sparrow. Do you still doubt that I can't even tell a sparrow apart? Chapter 192 Regaining Freedom. Since you have guaranteed with your personality that it is not the murderer, what else can I say? The owl said with a sense of relief, paused, then frowned again, and smiled bitterly. I will hand over the little bird king to you. Oh. You don't know, I have been troubled by this hot potato in the past 2 days. Now that I hand it over to you, I can finally rest assured. Then, he ordered the guards to escort Shizuo over. In the blink of an eye, Shizuo was escorted in by a shrike guard bird. You are so lucky today. If Mr. Crane hadn't asked me to borrow you to do something for him today, I would have killed you tonight and eaten your sparrow meat, the owl said to Zisu angrily. I will spare you this time. However, although you are spared a death penalty, you cannot escape the punishment of life. You must work for this gentleman peacefully and wholeheartedly. Otherwise, I will settle all the old and new accounts together. Suddenly, the red-billed spotted sparrowhawk rushed in angrily and begged loudly to Dao Menzi, Brother, you can't let this kid go. This kid has committed many murders. What you are doing is equivalent to letting the tiger go back to the mountain. When did I let you in? Get out quickly. When did I want others to control my work? Huh? Said the owl angrily. Brother, my king, you will regret it one day, the red-billed spotted sparrowhawk said anxiously with a sad face. At this time, the owl Dao Menzi ignored the cry of the red-billed sparrowhawk, turned around and asked the guard to untie Zisu, and then let the crane take Zisu away, and then asked the guard to see him off. Afterwards, Dao Menzi quickly closed the door and went into the bedroom, concentrating on studying the sapphire that the crane had pledged here. The more Dao Menzi looked at it, the more he liked it. He couldn't help but dance with joy, and gradually began to think about how to take it for himself. Zisu followed the crane closely and flew forward. As he flew, he found that he was very unfamiliar with this flight route, as if he had never been here before. He looked down at the strange and unfamiliar mountains and rivers, which made him feel relaxed and happy. About an hour and a half later, he followed the crane to a tall and long waterfall. A stream of water, as clear as a mountain stream, meandered down from the top of the mountain and fell on a flat rock. Then, the water falls from a height of several meters into a small lake, with gravel and rocks on the edge of the lake. Then, there is a winding stream flowing forward, with dense trees and thorny bushes on the edge of the stream, as well as many very beautiful flowers and plants. Butterflies are dancing in the flowers, bees are flying around on the flowers, busy collecting flowers and making honey, and birds on the trees are singing to their heart's content. This is really a great place to linger. Suddenly, a small bird flew out from a small tree by the stream. Zissou looked closely and found that it was Zir. She was so surprised that she asked quickly, "Why are you here?" Zir said, "I have been waiting for you here for a long time." At this time, the three birds, Crane, Zissou and Zilaisu, all landed on a larger tree to rest. Zissou asked in confusion, "What on earth is going on?" Zir said with a beaming face, "Now, let me formally introduce you. This old senior Zion is my uncle and also my master's junior fellow apprentice. His nickname is Menli Sao. However, my master and I don't usually interact with him. However, my master and I have been to the place where he lives several times. In fact, I didn't sleep well last night. Not long after you went out, I woke up with a start. As soon as I saw that you were not around, I knew where you had gone. So, I also went to the prisoner camp. When I was about to get there, I saw you flying cautiously in front of me from a distance, flying and stopping from time to time. Then, I found that you were so bold as to fly into the prisoner camp, and I heard you scream. At that time, I thought, oh no, you are finally arrested. What should I do? Later, I thought that only my uncle could help us. So I ran to my uncle to ask for help." Zion also added, "This little girl is really impatient. She came to me before daybreak, making a fuss and making a fuss. She had to pull me out of bed to save you. She has the same temper as her master when he was a child. Oh. There's really nothing I can do about her. So, I had to set out to save you before daybreak. Thank you, Uncle Master, for saving my life." Zissou kowtowed to express her gratitude upon hearing this. "I knew that you, Uncle, would be able to do it." Zir, who didn't know the inside story, actually boasted for Menli Sao, "You are really great." Zion's old face turned red, but he was still thick-skinned and pretended to complain. "You know that Uncle is good? Then your master died. Why didn't you come to see me?" Zir lowered her head embarrassedly and said carefully, "Master said that you have a strange temper, and was afraid that I would be angry with you, so he didn't let me come." Zion frowned slightly, sighed softly, and asked in confusion, "Did your master say this when she was dying?" "Of course not," she said it normally. "She died suddenly and didn't have time to say her last words." Zir shook her head hurriedly. "Then do you know what disease your master died of?" Menli Sao had to change the subject. "I don't know. I only know that she died of an acute disease." Zir lowered her head and said sadly, "This is really a bit weird. Your master is usually in such good health, how could he die of an acute disease?" Menli Sao shook his head in confusion. "Yes. My master is in good health and has never had any disease." Zir looked up, bewildered. "Have you been practicing that poison claw skill?" Zion continued to ask. "Yes. I have never stopped. Now not only my poison claw skill is very good, but Zissou's poison claw skill is also good." Zir couldn't help but snickering. "Ah. You two are practicing this poison claw skill. Don't you know that it has great side effects?" Zion thought for a while and inferred, "I'm not saying anything bad about you, but you two may die of chronic poisoning in the future. Maybe your master died suddenly because of the deep poisoning, but we all ate that kind of suffering deer detoxification herb, aren't we all fine?" Zir asked in confusion. "Maybe it's just temporary." Zion was confident and analyzed seriously, "Who knows if it will be okay after a long time? Besides, this detoxification herb itself is also poisonous. This is called fighting poison with poison. Do you understand?" Chapter 193, A Difficult Mission. When Zir heard this, she was so anxious that she wanted to cry, and asked hurriedly, "What should I do?" Zion's eyebrows flickered, paused, and said helplessly, "Hey. I can't do anything. Besides, I have never practiced this kind of poison skills. How do I know what to do? Now I can only take it one step at a time." He frowned slightly, and then he said to Zissou with a pained look, "Boy, I spent a lot of money to save you today. Do you know? I even mortgaged my priceless sapphire. My loss-making business has become bigger. Look, how can you thank me?" Zissou was shocked and thought, "I was wondering how that Dao Menzi would be so kind to let me go. It turns out that he is obsessed with money." So Zissou hurriedly expressed his position to the crane and said, "Uncle Master, please tell me. I will do anything I can do for my life." The crane was relieved and said, "Just your words." "Remember what you said just now?" Zir asked curiously. "Uncle Master, what do you want Zissou to do for you? Can you tell me?" The old crane blushed and said angrily, "What do you know? Little girl? Is it useful to tell you? Zir pouted dissatisfiedly and said, if you don't tell me, I will know it by then. Humph. Not long after, the crane took Zissou and Zir to fly behind the waterfall and came to a cave behind the waterfall. When they entered the cave, several bats flew out of the cave. It turned out that this sultry crane was living with bats. However, this is also good. Where there are bats, it is generally unlikely that other poisonous snakes and beasts will come in. If other powerful animals come in, the bats will definitely fly out and call to warn. Entering the cave, I found that the cave was well ventilated. A ray of light shone down from a huge crack above the cave wall, like a ray of sky. The cave has a unique structure, winding and secluded, and it is really wonderful. Even if it rains heavily here, water will not enter. Because the rain will flow out from the cracks in the stone wall of the cave and fall into the small pool below, there is no need to worry about the serious dampness in the cave. In addition, it is difficult for the strong wind outside the cave to blow in. If the weather is too cold, just go deep into the cave. Anyway, the cave is very deep. This is really a good place to shelter from wind and rain. It seems that this master crane really knows how to live. The next morning, the crane used an excuse to send Zir away, and then called Zissou alone to formally give it a task. It turned out that the crane had fallen in love with a female white swan named White Peony a long time ago. However, White Peony ignored it, but instead married another male white swan to have children. The crane was furious and had been brooding over it. However, last month, Bai Mutin's husband suddenly died of illness, turning her into a widow overnight. The crane thought that this opportunity had finally come. Unexpectedly, Bai Mutin, who had become a widow, was more popular than before. Now, in addition to the crane, there was also a male black swan and a male wild goose pursuing Bai Mutin, who had several children. Hey! This is really people are anxious to compare with people, and goods are thrown away when they are compared with goods. Others would be rejected if they had only one burden, but Bai Mutin was still a hot commodity even though she had several burdens, and she couldn't be snatched away. What kind of world is this? There is simply no place to reason. This made the crane unbearable, so he decided to use tough means to win Bai Mutin's favor. The crane gave Zissou two orders. First, he wanted him to drive away or eliminate the other two suitors of Bai Mutin by any means, even if it meant assassination. Second, he wanted Bai Mutin to change her opinion of the crane and make her like him. The last task was especially important. When Zissou heard this, she was very shocked and thought, there are people who pursue love in this way in this world. It's really ridiculous. Doesn't it know that binding makes a couple? Oh. Why is my life so miserable? I finally jumped out of the wolf's den, but now I'm in the tiger's den again? What's more, this bastard uncle borrowed me from the funny owl to do things for him. No matter how well or badly I do, he may return me. Therefore, I might as well just take the opportunity to leave. No, people must be trustworthy, and birds are the same. Even if I die like this, I can't be an ungrateful bird. It's just reincarnation. I die, I don't care. Thinking of this, Zissou put down his burden and calmed down. However, the difficulty of the two tasks given to Zissou by Zir, the weird uncle, is really not small. It is necessary to eliminate the competitors quietly and please Bai Mutin. Alice. Zissou has really encountered a difficult problem this time. With a raised eyebrow, Zissou came up with a plan. Yes, we should first conduct a detailed and in-depth investigation on Bai Mutin and the two competitors, and then make a decision. There is a saying, no investigation, no right to speak. If I don't investigate clearly in advance, how can I start? In this way, after Zissou received the task, he followed the address of Bai Mutin's long-term habitat told by the crane and flew there. When the sun was about to reach the top of the head, Zissou's sparrow flew to the wetland with abundant water plants where Bai Mutin often appeared, and began to perform the very funny task of matchmaking and pulling strings. At this time, there was no white swan on this wetland, but a black swan was wandering on the water with its head down in a depressed mood. Zissou thought, this black swan might be one of White Peony's suitors. Why don't I go up and talk to it to see what it thinks of White Peony, so that I can prescribe the right remedy? In the blink of an eye, Zissou flew to a reed beside the black swan and swayed gently in the wind. He looked at it and said, hey. Hello. Buddy, why do you look so sad? Are you unhappy about something? Chapter 194 Contact with a Swan. The black swan raised its head and looked around. It didn't find any swans or wild geese. It thought it was hallucinating, so it lowered its head and thought hard again. It never dreamed that Shisu, who had an alien brain, could understand thousands of animal languages. When Shisu saw that the other party didn't react, he repeated what he had just said. This time, the black swan was shocked and thought it had seen a ghost. But where could a ghost come from in broad daylight? The black swan blinked its two ugly eyes and turned its crooked head around, looking for the source of the sound. When it looked up again, it found a little sparrow on a thick reed beside it, and it seemed that the words came from its mouth. After a little hesitation, the black swan asked tentatively, "Little guy, were you talking to me just now? Besides me, do you think there will be anyone else around to talk to you?" Shisu said casually. "Oh my god. I never thought that you, a little sparrow, could understand the language of us swans. You are really amazing." The black swan was surprised. "Tisk, what's that?" "I also understand many different animal languages," Zisu Sparrow said disdainfully. "Ah. So amazing, then you must be a divine bird," the black swan asked in disbelief. "As for divine birds, maybe I can't say that, maybe I don't have such a long life. But I can predict your past and future," Zisu said. "Ah. So, you are a wizard?" the black swan asked doubtfully. "Let's not talk about this for now. You haven't answered me yet when I asked you just now," Zisu said, leaving the topic aside. "What? Why don't I remember? Look at my forgetfulness." "Oh. I remember, you seemed to ask me why I was unhappy, right?" The black swan sighed and said, "Hey. Don't mention it. I'm sad when I mention it." "What made you sad? Let me help you analyze it." "Is it because of a broken heart?" Zisu asked. "Ah. You know all this, you are indeed a divine bird. Then what do you think is the reason for my broken heart?" Zisu shook her head and pretended to think for a while, then said, "I figured it out. You are pursuing a female white swan, and you have repeatedly confessed your love to her, but she has rejected you mercilessly. Therefore, you feel very painful. Wow. You are so amazing. It is just like what you saw. You are definitely a divine bird, I have no doubt about it. So do you think I can get her to accept me in the future?" The black swan now completely believed what Zisu said, so she asked humbly. "Well, it's not difficult to say, but it's not difficult to say. It depends on what you do," Zisu said mysteriously. "Then what should I do? Can you teach me?" the black swan begged. Zisu pondered for a while before slowly saying, "I haven't thought it through yet. But let me ask you, is there another wild goose madly pursuing this white swan? Not only that crazy wild goose, but even that conceited crane wants to get involved. It's really distressing. Didn't the husband of this female white swan die not long ago?" "Yes. You even know this. You're amazing." "Of course, I must know what I should know. I also know some things I shouldn't know. Then you have to give me some advice so that I can pursue the white swan." "Of course I can give you advice. But what benefits can you give me?" "Well, as long as I can do it, I'll do anything you ask me to do. In fact, there is something that you can not only do, but it will also be of great benefit to your pursuit of the white swan after you do it well." "Is there really such a good thing?" "What is it?" "In fact, it's very simple, that is, to do everything possible to ruin the wild goose's pursuit of the white swan." "Do you think it's a good thing?" "Oh. That's what you're talking about. Of course it's a good thing, but I think it's too difficult and I'm afraid it won't be accomplished." "How do you know you can't do it if you don't do it? With me giving you advice, are you still afraid you can't do it? Then what do you want me to do?" "The first thing I'm going to ask you to do is to keep a close eye on the wild goose. Wherever it flies, you follow it day and night for 10 days or half a month. After tracking it, you report to me what you saw about it," Zisu said. "If you find that it has an ambiguous relationship with other female wild geese or swans, you must report it to me in time. I will help you find a way to get rid of your competitor. But don't let it find out that you are following it. If you are found by it, it means that your tracking has failed, and you must give up tracking, and then I can't help you. If I find anything suspicious about it, where can I find you?" asked the black swan. "I come here every morning for a patrol. You can just come here to find me," Zisu replied. "Okay. Then I'll do as you say. I'll follow it now," the black swan said, and flew away expectantly. After sending the annoying black swan away, Zisu began to think about the next plan. How can he make this black swan fight with a wild goose? Of course, first of all, he had to intensify the conflict between the two to a reconcilable point, because swans generally adopt a monogamy system, and there are very few polygamy, let alone polyandry. Just as Zissou was thinking hard, suddenly, a big white swan with 3 little white swans descended from the sky and landed on the water surface of the reed lake, more than 30 meters in front of Zissou. It seems that this may be the white peony family out hunting. This female white swan is indeed very beautiful. Whether you look at it from a human or a flying bird's perspective, it has almost no flaws. It is long where it should be long, round where it should be round. A little more flesh would make it too fat, a little less flesh would make it too thin. It is just right. It is worthy of being called the white peony, which is loved by everyone. Flowers bloom when they see it, and birds are happy when they see it. It is as beautiful as a flower. Chapter 195, The Plan of Dissension. Her graceful and beautiful manners revealed a kind of elegant and noble temperament that seemed to be that of a lady from the upper class of human society. This was a fatal temptation for those male birds. No wonder the cranes and other birds fell in love with her at first sight, thinking about her day and night, and couldn't stop. Thinking of this, Zissou felt that the burden on her shoulders was getting heavier, and thought, why don't I take this opportunity to go and say hello to her, get to know each other, and learn more about the situation? Mutin lowered her head to look for aquatic plants in the water to eat, and her 3 little babies also learned to do the same. Suddenly, a sparrow flew over from somewhere else, landed on a reed beside it, and said, "Oh, 3 cute little babies, come out with your beautiful mother to eat." Seeing that Mutin had no reaction, Zissou said enthusiastically, "Madam, you are so beautiful. I dare say you are the most beautiful white swan in the world. However, if there is a white swan that will be more beautiful than you in the future, it can only be produced by these little babies of yours. Oh, I envy your family so much. What's going on today?" Mutin felt sweet in her heart, and said to herself, "Is the sun rising from the west? There is actually a little bird that can speak swan language, and its mouth is like honey, and it sang praises to me right away." She raised her head and asked, "Hey, little bird, why are you so sweet-mouthed? If you are too attentive for no reason, you are either a traitor or a thief. You are not trying to do anything bad." "No, madam, you are really wronging me," Zissou complained hurriedly. "I just spoke from my heart. Do you want me to say the opposite and deliberately belittle you?" "Oh, little bird, you are really good at talking," Mutin asked curiously. "Who taught you?" "You can't be self-taught. No one taught me. I always tell the truth. Today I saw that your babies are so cute, and I said something without paying attention. Then tell me, who is the cutest and who is the most beautiful among my little babies?" Mutin asked proudly. "This, I really can't say. I think they are all cute and beautiful. It's just that some like to be quiet and some like to exercise." Zissou said this intentionally. "Wow. Your little mouth is really good at talking. I like it very much," Mutin said with a smile. "How about I get some small fish and shrimps from the water for you to eat?" "Madam, you are too polite," Zissou declined. "You eat your meal. I'm not hungry, don't worry about me. It's good for us to chat like this. You are quite polite, little thing," Mutin said with satisfaction. "Okay. I won't force you. Let's continue chatting after I finish my meal." Seeing this, Zissou Sparrow had to shut his flattering mouth. Not long after, suddenly, a wild goose flew from a distance, and a black swan followed far behind. Zissou knew that Mutin's 2 suitors had come. So he said, "Madam, it seems that your suitor is here again." "Ah, who is here again? Let me see." Mutin turned around and found that the wild goose had landed in front of her. The wild goose greeted her warmly. "Hello, beautiful lady, are you eating? Do you want me to bring you a hearty lunch?" "I've told you many times. Don't call me miss, call me madam," Mutin said dissatisfiedly. "Look, my children are here to eat. You call me miss in front of my children. Isn't this embarrassing for me?" "Well, dear madam, do you need my help?" said the male wild goose. "I don't have anything to ask of you. If you take care of yourself, I will be grateful," Mutin said. "No, don't be so polite. Who are we talking to?" the male wild goose said in an naughty way. "Of course I will take care of myself. But I want to take care of you while taking care of myself. This is my lofty ideal and beautiful wish." When Zissou heard this, "Wow. This guy is really good at flattering. He keeps saying sweet words. He is really a master at picking up girls. This time, I have met my match. No, this boy must have ulterior motives. He must have a lot of bad intentions if he can talk like that. No mistake. I must find a way to stop him from extending his evil claws to such a noble and pure lady." Just when Bai Mutant was about to say goodbye to the male goose, Zissou interrupted and said, "Where did this wild boy come from? He actually shamelessly wants to be the stepfather of the babies. Why don't you take a piss and see what kind of character you are? Are you worthy? Not only do you look ugly, but you also have pockmarks all over your face. No, pockmarks all over your body. Don't you think you are too poor? I am ashamed for you." Zissou's sudden machine gun fire immediately made the male goose stupid. He stared at Zissou Sparrow in amazement and didn't come back to his senses for a long time. However, Shisa saw a blazing flame in the eyes of the male goose that was staring at it without blinking. Despite this, Shisu didn't care at all. Instead, she locked the eyes of the unlucky male goose with a fierce look. Seeing the male goose's rare look of being defeated, the white peony swan couldn't help but laugh. At this time, the male goose finally got angry and scolded Shisu in anger. "Where did you come from, you little bastard? You are talking nonsense and dare to come out to interfere in the affairs of adults?" Shisu said. "How can this be considered an idle matter? I just don't want to see a flower stuck in a pile of cow dung," the male goose said angrily. "You little shit, do you want to die? Do you believe that I can peck you to death with my mouth right now? Come on. If you have the guts, come and peck me. If you don't peck, you are a fool." "Do you think I am afraid of you?" Shisu said disdainfully. "Hey, look at my explosive temper. If you make me angry, I will really peck you to death." The male goose was about to pounce on him aggressively. "Can you two both say less? Is it necessary to quarrel so fiercely over such a trivial matter?" Bai Mutant saw that if she didn't intervene, there might be trouble, so she quickly acted as a peacemaker. "Little brother, please say less. Big brother, for my sake, please don't bother with little brother. Okay, for the sake of Miss Bai Mutant, I will spare you this time today." Seeing Bai Mutant standing up to act as a peacemaker, the male goose took the opportunity to say, "Now, get out of here right now and disappear from my sight immediately. Otherwise, don't blame me for being rude to you." Chapter 196, Matchmaking, Part 1. "You're welcome." Zissou was happy when he heard it, knowing that the fish had been hooked, and said intentionally, "It's still not certain who is afraid of who? You're just bragging, you don't accept it, right? If you don't accept it, let's go out and fight to see who is stronger. How about it?" the male goose said to scare Zissou. "Madam Bai, look at this guy, he's really bad," Zissou deliberately gossiped. "He always likes to bully the small and the weak. He is definitely not a good bird. You'd better open your eyes and don't be fooled by him, that big brother." Bai Mutant stood up for the little sparrow. "Zissou, I don't allow you to bully this little brother, do you hear me? Otherwise, I will never talk to you again. I'll listen to you and ignore that little thing." The male goose had to humble himself and said to Bai Mutant in a low voice, "But I wonder if Miss Bai would be so kind as to agree to a date with me. I've told you so many times. I'm not a little girl. Don't call me Miss Bai, call me Madam Bai." Bai Mutant frowned and said with annoyance when she heard it, "Look at you, you're not as polite as this little brother. He always calls me Madam. As for dating and the like, we have a family and are too busy to spare the time. Unlike you who are idle all day long, MRS. Bai, you actually said I was idle." The male goose pretended to be angry and said, "Do you know that in order to pursue you, I finally squeezed out all my work and hobbies and took time out to accompany you? And you rejected me like this. I am so sad." You have learned to please others. Are you going to use your hidden tricks to pick up girls again?" Zissou said again. "You damned little jerk, I will peck you to death." The male goose really couldn't bear it anymore, so he flapped his wings and swooped down on Zissou Sparrow, and Zissou turned around and flew away immediately. Bai Mutant laughed happily when she saw it. The three little swans also laughed with their mother. When the male goose saw that Zissou had escaped into the woods, he stopped chasing her and turned back to Bai Mutant, continuing to flatter her. "Beautiful lady, I wonder if I am lucky enough to be honored by your presence and have a private chat with me. Isn't it appropriate today? Can we talk about it another day?" Bai Mutant said lightly. "Okay. It's settled. I'll invite you another day, but you must agree to it," the male goose said hurriedly, and then turned around and flew away expectantly without waiting for Bai Mutant's agreement. "Hey! Don't be in a hurry to leave. When did I agree to you?" Bai Mutant looked at the male goose that was hurriedly going away, frowned, and said anxiously. At this time, the black swan that was following the male goose in the distance saw this and quietly followed the male goose and flew away. When Zissou saw that the male wild goose was gone, he came out of the woods and flew to Bai Mutant and said, "Madam, I think that guy is not a good bird. Don't pay attention to him in the future. The more you pay attention to him, the more excited he is. Who knows what kind of bad water he has in his belly. When he comes, you scold him. Do you have a prejudice against him? Mutant asked puzzledly. What prejudice do I have? I know he is not a good bird when I see his sneaky look, Zissou quickly said with a red face. You can also read faces? If you have this ability, wouldn't you be a fortune teller? Mutant deliberately joked. As for reading faces, I know a little bit. As for fortune telling, I also have some research, Zissou boasted shamelessly. Then calculate, what will be the future fate of my family? Mutant thought for a while and said tentatively. Well, if you look at your current situation, I'm afraid it's a bit bad. Zissou began to set a trap. Why is it bad? Can you tell me more? Mutant asked in shock. According to my observation, your forehead is dark, and I'm afraid something bad will happen soon, Zissou said like a fortune teller, shaking her head, but I haven't figured out what will happen yet. However, I suggest you don't agree to any bird appointments or banquets recently, and try to have less contact with birds you are not very familiar with. Of course, I am an exception, because I won't hurt you, Tisk. I don't believe it. Mutant felt uneasy and said half believingly, are you deliberately pretending to be a ghost to scare me? The ancient said, it is better to believe it than not to believe it. This is the safest way. I won't say anything else. Goodbye. Madam. Zissou flew away after saying that. After Zissou returned, she asked Zir about her uncle's personality, temperament, hobbies, and marital status. Zir said she didn't know exactly, but she heard from her master that her uncle had a very eccentric personality, was not very sociable, was stubborn, and looked down on others. It seemed that he had been single until now, and the issue of his partner was the most troublesome issue. It seems that being a matchmaker for the crane is not an easy job. It has finally found a partner, so it will not give up easily. Let it have a passionate love affair. No mistake, one post, one content, 1619, one book, one bar, take a look. Zissou thought, this is also something that can't be helped. In the next few days, Zissou did not take the initiative to chat with Mutant, but just hid in the woods, watching Mutant's family playing and hunting in the swamp lake from a distance, and found that the male goose and black swan who pursued Mutant in the past few days did not come to harass the white swan family again. Therefore, Zissou did not need to show up to interfere. A few days later, the black swan reported to him that the male goose had a wife and a lover, and there were more than one, at least two. It turned out that this guy was also a playboy. This is unacceptable. We must not let their conspiracy succeed. We must cut off their claws that are reaching out to the white swan. No, their lustful claws. The early morning sun was warm and bright, the breeze was gentle, and the atmosphere was a mixture of freshness and tranquility. Zissou flew to the swamp lake, where the white swans often went early to wait for the arrival of Mutant's family. Near noon, the white swan Mutant flew from a distance with 3 little white swans. Zissou Sparrow greeted them and said, hello, madam. Hello, babies. Are you here for lunch? After you finish your meal, I have something to say to you, madam. Can you tell me now? I can't wait. Mutant seemed a little curious and said, if I tell you now, I'm afraid it will affect your appetite and you won't be able to eat. Zissou deliberately kept it a secret. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 197, Matchmaking, Part 2. It's not that serious, right? If you don't tell me now, I won't be able to eat, Mutant urged anxiously. Well, it's about the male goose that pursued you. According to my detailed investigation, Zissou said, half true and half false, he has at least 2 wives, but he is still not satisfied. He goes around looking for prostitutes. I guess he has contracted syphilis, and it's very serious. He always wants to pass on this disease to the one he likes. He is so evil. It's true. Mutant was shocked when she heard it, and then said excitedly, fortunately, I listened to you and ignored him. Otherwise, he would have contracted syphilis, damaged his body and ruined his reputation, which would be terrible. Little brother, how can I thank you? Zissou hurriedly said modestly, you're welcome. This is what I should do. Who made us so destined? Bai Mutant also nodded in agreement. Who said it wasn't? It seems that we are really destined. You are a good kid, I'm determined to make friends with you. Zisu hurriedly took the opportunity to say, then I will call you Sister Bai from now on. Okay, Bai Mutant said happily. Oh. I'm so sorry. Sister, I don't even know how to address you. What's your name? Zisu immediately said, my name is Zisu, you can just call me Ziosu from now on. Bai Mutant said happily, Ziosu, your name is good, very poetic. Zisu pretended to be modest. Sister Bai, look at what you said. A name is just a symbol, how can it be poetic? Bai Mutant pretended to be angry. If I say it is poetic, it is poetic. Children should not talk too much. Zisu hurriedly accepted. Yes. Whatever sister says is what it is. As a younger brother, we can only obey. Bai Mutant raised her eyebrows and said, why, you are still not convinced? I dare not. Zisu grinned. By the way, Sister Bai, it seems that you have another suitor, a black swan, right? Yes. Does he have any problems too? Bai Mutant said puzzledly. Does he have a wife too? Is he also a big gangster? That's not the case. Zisu put down the bait and said, there's nothing unusual about his personal problems. His character is not bad, it's over then. Bai Mutant was a little confused. He and I are of the same kind, just with different skin colors. Besides, I finally met someone with equal conditions. Are you going to chase him away? Sister Bai, you can't say that, Zisu cried out. I am thinking of you wholeheartedly. You see, we can't be careless about the issue of marriage. Otherwise, we will be the ones who suffer, right? Therefore, we have to consider the problem comprehensively and in the long term, right? It seems to be so. So what do you think is wrong with this black swan? Bai Mutant asked worriedly. To put it mildly, it's a problem. To put it more seriously, it's a flaw. Generally speaking, it should be called a regret, Zisu said mysteriously. First of all, your skin color is not suitable for his. You are white and he is black. If you are with him, people will see you two as the black and white impermanents, a pair of ghosts of the king of hell, which will make people laugh and damage your reputation of being pure and flawless. Secondly, your living habits are different. You are a white swan, born to be hygienic, like water and can't live without it, and your body is relatively healthy, but he, the black swan, never pays attention to hygiene. It doesn't matter if he doesn't take a bath for years, it doesn't matter if there is water or not. His body is full of viruses, bacteria and parasites, it's dirty and smelly, and he often gets all kinds of diseases. Thirdly, his eating habits are also different. You like to eat aquatic plants and soft-bodied organisms, while he eats caterpillars, moths, flies, mosquitoes, ants, bedbugs, mantises, grasshoppers, crickets, tadpoles and other small creatures on land and in water, and he never cares about it. Fourth, your union with him will affect the physical health and IQ development of your offspring. It is said that the offspring of a white swan and a black swan not only have a short lifespan and many diseases, but also have intellectual disabilities, that is, they are mentally retarded, idiots, and fools. Fifth, enough. This is enough, it scares me enough. Bai Mutant was frightened when she heard it, and hurriedly interrupted, why is it still endless? You know too much? You are really knowledgeable. Fifth, black swans usually snore when they sleep, and they snore loudly. This is not a big problem for you, right? Zisu deliberately continued, if this is not a big problem, sister, you can ignore it. This problem is not big, then there is no big problem, Bai Mutant said anxiously. Brother Su, I am really grateful to have met you today, which has broadened my horizons. Otherwise, how should I live the rest of my life? Oh my god. It seems that this black swan must be driven away, he is really a nuisance, by the way. Wait a minute, if the black swan comes, sister, you must not say that I told you these words. Zisu pretended to be afraid and said, I'm afraid that he will scold me for deliberately sowing discord and making trouble, which will be troublesome. No mistake, one poem, one post, one content, one book, one forum, 1619, one post. You're still afraid of him, Bai Mutant said confidently, with my sister backing you up. Why are you afraid of him? It's better not to say that. After all, I'm quite familiar with him, and we can be considered half acquaintances, Zisu patiently explained. Sister, just ignore him. If he asks you or keeps pestering you, Just deliberately say that you just want to raise the little darlings into adults and don't want to consider personal issues for the time being. Oh. That's the only way to say it. Bai Mutin raised her head, sighed softly, and then said a little discouraged, "It seems that I have to think about my personal issues for a long time. Don't worry, Sister Bai. Your affairs are my affairs. I'll take care of your affairs." Seeing this, Zisu quickly encouraged her, "In the future, I will try my best to find a suitable husband for you, so that you can spend the rest of your life happily. How about it? Okay. I'll leave my sister's affairs to you." "I'll be relieved." Bai Mutin's eyebrows flickered slightly, and she pretended to be happy and said, "Then I'll take the children to have lunch. Do you want to come with us?" "Thank you. No need. I can find insects to eat on the ground by myself." Zisu was so happy to see Bai Mutin actually agreed to be her matchmaker that she hurriedly said goodbye. After Zisu and Bai Mutin's family parted ways, they each looked for food on the shore and in the water. Then, Zisu left first after finishing her meal. Chapter 198, Matchmaking, Part 2. After Zisu returned, he immediately reported the good news to his uncle, the crane man Li Sao, saying that he had helped him to deal with all the competitors without firing a single shot, and it would depend on his uncle's performance. Of course, Zisu had to cheer him on, waving flags and shouting, and spare no effort. But the uncle's own performance would be more important. After hearing this, the crane man Li Sao was very happy and excited, as if he had won the lottery jackpot, and seemed to be a little flattered. He quickly praised Zisu for his ability and said that he had not misjudged the bird. In the next few days, Zisu did not go directly to Bai Mutin to lobby, but hid in the dense forest to observe secretly to see if Bai Mutin had sent the black swan away. If she had sent it away completely, then he could go up to lobby. Sure enough, the stupid black swan was really patient. It pestered for several days before being driven away by the determined Bai Mutin. Seeing this, Zisu immediately emerged from the woods, flew over happily to greet the white swan Bai Mutin and said, "Sister Bai, how have you been these days?" "Hey, sister, I finally drove away that scabby dog." Bai Mutin looked up at Zisu, sighed deeply and said, "I'm very tired now, and I don't want to talk about personal issues yet." In that case, Zisu was a little disappointed and had to say goodbye. "Then I'll come back in 2 days when you're calm." 2 days later, Zisu flew over again shamelessly and greeted Bai Mutin, "Hello, Sister Bai. Are you still tired now? If you think it's okay, then I can talk about some interesting issues." "Ziosu, don't worry about me. I don't want to find a partner anymore." Bai Mutin shook her head and said dejectedly, "I'm used to living alone with several babies. I don't need outsiders to come in and meddle. I've been married once and tasted the taste of marriage. I don't want to go through it again and suffer again." "Sister Bai, you can't say that." Zisu had to patiently enlighten her, "Everyone has painful experiences. Life is actually a big jar of pickles, with all kinds of flavors, sweet, sour, bitter, spicy and salty. Everyone has to eat it once or more, and some people fall in love with it and even eat it many times. And every time we eat it, we will have different experiences and feelings, just like, is the spring you saw when you were a child the same as the spring you see now? When you were a child, you saw spring coming, and you thought, now it's great, I can go out and play again, and there are good things to eat." After a pause, Zisu continued, "Now that you see spring coming, you think, I have to take the babies out to play again and find good things to eat. And you have to think about how to educate them to grow up, and you have to consider the safety of the babies. Sister Bai, do you think I'm right?" Bai Mutin lowered her head and pondered for a long time, frowned, slowly raised her head, locked her eyes with Zisu, and said slowly, "Ziosu, although what you said makes some sense, I really feel very tired. It's mentally tired. Do you understand? That's how it is between men and women. I have experienced it a long time ago, and I have seen through it. I don't want to try it again. It's meaningless to keep repeating the past, if it's not a repetition of the past, but a completely different experience, a brand new thing, giving you a brand new enjoyment you have never had before. Then are you willing to try it?" Zisu continued to induce her. "Is there really such a thing?" Bai Mutin's eyebrows flickered slightly, and she asked in confusion, "What is that thing? Tell me about it." "You used to fall in love and marry with your own kind, that is, ducks. If you fall in love with cranes now, what would it feel like?" Zisu said tentatively. "Ah. You don't want me to fall in love with that tall, long-legged, and pretentious guy?" Bai Mutin was shocked, and soon came to her senses and asked, "Could it be that you two have known each other before?" Zisu asked knowingly. "Not really, just met a few times. As early as 3 years ago, this guy always hung around in front of me, blushed when he saw me, and didn't like to say anything. I thought this guy was sick or had bad intentions. What, is he asking you to introduce me to him now, and wants to date me?" Bai Mutin said with some understanding and some confusion. "That's right. This crane is my girlfriend's uncle. It has always admired you and misses you day and night. You are the goddess and idol in his mind. It has been single for so many years, just waiting for the opportunity to marry you," Zisu had to confess honestly. "Ah, there is such a thing. I really didn't expect it. Then why didn't he come in person, but let you be the matchmaker?" Bai Mutin suddenly realized. "He's thin-skinned. He is afraid that you will refuse. If he pursues you and you refuse, his self-esteem will not be able to bear it," Zisu hurriedly explained. "Is self-esteem more important than one's own happiness? If he is such a selfish person, then I think there is no need for us to meet," Bai Mutin said angrily. "Well, that's not the case. He may not be a very selfish person. Maybe he loves you too much and is afraid of losing you," Zisu explained patiently. "In that case, I'll think about it. Please also tell him a message from me, saying that I don't like selfish people," Bai Mutin said hesitantly. "I will definitely tell him that. If it's okay, I'll take my leave," Zisu said with a slight relief in his heart. "It's okay. You can go," Bai Mutin said in a somewhat unkind tone. After returning to Master Zion's water curtain cave, Zisu immediately told him everything about a meeting and chat with Bai Mutin that day. "Hey. It's all my fault that I was so hesitant and worried about gains and losses that I didn't dare to pursue her boldly, which made her misunderstand me and think that I was noble and selfish. In fact, I failed repeatedly when I fell in love with female cranes of the same kind, which led to my extreme inferiority complex. In addition, I saw her and her husband, no, the male white swan who was not her husband at the time, talking and laughing happily, so I didn't dare to talk to her rashly," Zion Menlisao said regretfully. "Oh. So that's the case. I know, then I will explain it to you in detail tomorrow. Don't worry, you will get what you want," Zisu promised hurriedly. "I hope so, but I'm afraid that things won't go so smoothly and there will be complications," Zion Menlisao said uneasily. "Uncle Master, don't be discouraged," Zisu encouraged it. "I believe you will succeed." "I believe in you," Zion Menlisao cheered up again. "Okay. I will work hard and strive to win the beauty as soon as possible." Chapter 199, Crossing the River and Destroying the Bridge. The next day, the sky was clear, the sun was shining, the breeze was blowing, the air was fresh, and it was a pleasant day. Zisu rushed to the old place early in the morning and talked to the white swan Bai Mutin about what the crane Menlisao said to it yesterday. She emphasized that the crane Menlisao was not too selfish, but too self-abased. Although it looked arrogant on the outside, it was actually very self-abased in its heart. "If that's the case, then ask it to come over tomorrow. Wouldn't it be better for us to finalize it face to face?" Bai Mutin finally made up her mind and agreed to the blind date, and she said it with relief. "Great. That's what I've been waiting for you to say. This is a good sign. Look, I see that your forehead is a little glowing now, and I guess your recent unfavorable events are likely to be eliminated," Zisu said with surprise. "Tisk, I don't believe you. You're just making fun of me." "Humph." Bai Mutin felt a little relieved, raised her eyebrows slightly, and said with a smile. I'll go back and talk to him now. At least you two should talk face to face." "That's fine. I'll take my leave first," Zisu said quickly. "Bye sister, bye babies." Zisu flew away excitedly. "Good news, good news. Success. Success," Zisu shouted excitedly when they were still far away from the water curtain cave where the crane uncle lived. "What success?" Menlisao and Zaire ran out of the water curtain cave and asked in unison. Of course they knew the answer but asked anyway. "I won't tell you." Zisu was beaming with joy and deliberately kept it a secret. "I know, you succeeded in being a matchmaker for the master uncle, didn't you?" Zaire said with a smile. "Success? Really? Are you kidding me? Am I not dreaming?" the crane Menlisao asked impatiently. After getting Zisu's accurate answer, the crane Menlisao was really relieved this time. It seemed a little happy that it couldn't find the east, south, west, or north. It felt dizzy from the heart. After turning around for several times, Manly Sao actually said with a red face, "Why don't you two peck me and see if it hurts me?" "Uncle Master, you are so funny. Let me peck you," Zir said with a slight smile, and then, without any courtesy, pecked its neck with her mouth. "Ouch," the crane shouted, "you little girl really don't know the severity. You pecked my old bones so hard that they almost broke apart. I won't dare to let you do it again next time." "Tisk, you are already an old bone, and you are still talking about love. Are you ashamed?" "I am ashamed for you," Zir laughed. "You little girl, you know nothing. This is called twilight love, the most fashionable. I also call it keeping up with the times. Do you understand?" the crane said with a face thicker than a city wall. "It's still twilight love. I think it's old and coquettish, and it's pretty good." Zir deliberately joked. "Zir, stop arguing. Business matters are more important." Seeing that they were arguing endlessly, Zissou hurriedly interrupted and said seriously, "Think about it quickly. How can you make the blind date of Master Uncle pass smoothly tomorrow?" This time, it was the turn of Master Uncle Manly Sao to make his debut. He had to perform well and must not mess up the show. Zir gave Manly Sao serious advice, teaching him how to speak, how to pay attention to his appearance in conversation, how to be polite and self-disciplined, etc. Almost educating him like a 2 or 3-year-old child, and almost giving him a lecture. What's even funnier is that this old guy was actually very convinced, and he was still submissive and nodded and accepted it, which was simply hilarious. The next morning, Manly Sao and Bai Mutin officially started a blind date. A long-legged tall crane met a short-legged short duck. One voice was crisp and loud, and the other was low and hoarse, intertwined, as if a chicken and a duck were talking, unique, and it was so interesting. However, after talking for a long time, they still didn't know what the other party was saying, and they didn't even understand the meaning at all. In the end, there was no way, and the conversation between the two had to be translated by the human brain of Zissa Sparrow to understand the meaning of both parties. This also cast a shadow on the future relationship between the two people, not only making the crane Manly Sao very depressed and embarrassed, but also making Bai Mutin extremely frustrated, and she lost her interest in further communication with Manly Sao. Seeing that the two were about to part unhappily, Zissou hurriedly proposed that from now on, they should come here every morning, and Zissou would tutor the crane and the white swan in foreign language learning. In a nutshell, it means teaching both parties to learn each other's language so that there will be no language barriers between them in the future, so that they can communicate freely. However, it's better to start now than to choose a day. If you want to learn, you should start now. Zissou asked them if they had any objections, and both said they had no objection. In a blink of an eye, Zissou Sparrow began to teach the crane and the white swan on the spot. For example, when the swan said eat, the crane said quack, and when the swan said fly, the crane said silly silly, and when the swan said fly, the crane said bitter bitter bitter, and so on. In fact, the language and meaning of animals are much simpler than human language. Therefore, Zissou did not take this language learning tutoring seriously. No mistake, 1 post, 1 content, 1 6, 1 9, 1 book, 1 bar. However, even such a simple language learning, it is quite difficult for the crane with a thin tongue and the white swan with a big tongue to learn each other's language. Especially when the white peony with a big tongue wanted her to learn the crane language, it simply drove her crazy. In this way, in the end, the crane had to work hard as a human. Who told it to like the white swan so much? It was it who took the initiative to pursue the white swan, so it was no one's fault. Watching Manly Sao with a long thin tongue and a coquettish voice, pretending to learn to speak with a big tongue, is as funny as an adult learning to speak from a baby. Bai Mutin was also amused by Manly Sao's strange duck talk and funny appearance, and even her 3 babies laughed along. As Bai Mutin gradually became familiar with Manly Sao and spent more time with him, she found that he also had many advantages, such as speaking humorously, doing things vigorously, being straightforward and saying what he thinks, not boasting and liking to do practical things, etc. Seeing that the relationship between the two is getting more and more harmonious and intimate, the purple sparrow feels that he can no longer be a light bulb as a matchmaker or mercy man, and it is time to retire. But what Zissou didn't expect was that its own doom was about to befall. That night, the crane Manly Sao suddenly called Zissou and said to it, "Boy, I think your mission has been completed. But, it has been completed very well. However, in this case, There is no point in you staying with me. I plan to return you to the Al Dalmenzi because my precious sapphire is still in his hands, and I want to use the sapphire to propose to Baimudan. Do you have any other opinions? Chapter 200 Jedi Counterattack. Uncle Master, you can't do this. What you are doing is tantamount to destroying the bridge after crossing it. Zisu was shocked when he heard it, and said anxiously, didn't you come to save me for Zir's sake? Are you going to send me back today just for a sapphire? Wouldn't this go against your righteous act of saving me in the first place? The Crane Liseo had to say frankly, actually, I didn't save you entirely for Zir's sake. I also had selfish motives. The main reason was that I wanted you to help me get by Mutan, my lifelong pursuit, so I had to help you. Zisu's heart had been as clear as a mirror for a long time. Now that Liseo finally spoke his mind, he knew that there was not much room for maneuver in this matter. There really is no free lunch in this world. Oh. Why is my life so miserable? What should I do? Thinking of this, Zisu raised her eyebrows, and a plan came to her mind, so she asked tentatively, if I help you steal the sapphire back, then you won't send me back. Is that right? If that's the case, Manly Sao thought for a while with his head tilted, and said without blushing, I can consider it. After all, what I want is the sapphire, and I have no interest in you. However, I will only give you 3 days at most. Because I can't wait, I will propose to the White Swan and White Peony soon. If I still haven't seen the sapphire after 3 days, then I will have to exchange you for the sapphire. Zisu was shocked that she only had 3 days to steal the sapphire back. However, it was much better than having no time at all. In this case, Zisu had no choice but to agree. At noon the next day, Zisu was on a piece of grass, thinking about how to steal the sapphire, while looking for something to eat in the bushes. Suddenly, 20 or 30 sparrowhawks and shrikes flew out of the dense forest more than 100 meters away and pounced on it fiercely. When Zisu saw that the enemy was coming with bad intentions, he quickly turned around and flew to the nearest big tree behind him, determined to fight the enemy to the end in this big tree. The enemy bird followed closely and also got into the big tree, and a fierce battle began. In this big tree with dense branches and leaves, it took out all the skills and tactics it practiced in daily life without reservation, and exerted all its strength. It moved up and down, left and right, appeared and hid, attacked and retreated. Zisu was as comfortable as a fish in the water in these layers of leaves. Zisu knew that the moment of crisis had come, and his whole body was excited and his blood was boiling. The threat of death aroused his high fighting spirit. Once he made a move, it was a fatal blow, poison claw skill, one shot must hit, shoot and move to another place, never stay for a second. The dense branches and leaves were his battlefields and good places to hide. When he saw many enemy birds or they were besieging him, he would use the moves of flying like a dragon, swallows drilling through the clouds and flying across the Yinshan mountains to avoid them. When he saw a lone enemy bird, he would use the moves of golden rock spreading its wings, pearls rolling up the curtain, graceful as a startled swan and a crane soaring into the sky to suddenly rush up and kill it. It didn't take long before he beat the enemy birds, which had not undergone strict martial arts and tactical training, so badly that they cried and howled and couldn't find their way. When more than half of the enemy birds were lost, the enemy chief saw that the situation was not good and hurriedly fled with the remnants. Zisu took the opportunity to catch a severely injured shrike and asked, "Why did you come to kill me?" The dying shrike finally confessed the truth before he died. Listen to the leader, it's because of the sapphire that we came to kill you." Before he finished speaking, he died. Sapphire again? Zisu thought to herself, why would the owl send birds to kill me? I think the owl Dao Menzi might have thought that after killing me, the crane would not be able to return me to it, and the owl could take the opportunity to take the sapphire for itself. It's really a smart plan. The crane Liseo and the owl Dao Menzi were willing to tear off their faces and masks of righteousness and morality for this sapphire. It seems that the temptation of sapphire is really too great. The more Zisu thought about it, the angrier she became. It's true what the saying goes, people die for money and birds die for food. I can't just sit and wait to die, I'm going to fight back. Just as she was thinking about it, suddenly, a voice came from outside. Zisu, Zisu, where are you? Zisu knew that Zir was looking for it. So, Zisu flew out of the tree and said, Zir, I'm here. What do you want to see me for? Zir appeared in front of Zisu excitedly and said with a smile, can't I find you if I have nothing to do? You are my future husband, ah. Did you kill all these sparrowhawks and shrikes? Zir suddenly found that there were more than 10 dead birds under the tree and asked in surprise. They came to kill me first, so I killed them. Zisu knew that it was impossible to hide it from her now, so she had to admit, I was purely defending myself. There was no other way. Of course I know you were defending yourself, Zir asked anxiously when she heard it, but why did they come to kill you? It's for that sapphire, Zisu said dejectedly. Which sapphire? Zir asked with a puzzled look on her face. It's the sapphire that my uncle borrowed for me. Don't you know? Zisu said a little confused. Of course I know. But your uncle actually has more than just sapphires. He also has rubies and emeralds. And there's more than just one sapphire, Zir explained hurriedly. Oh. It seems that your uncle is still very greedy and is reluctant to give up even one gem. However, the owl may be even more greedy than him. For that sapphire, he actually sent a special detachment to assassinate me, Zisu said indignantly. Ah. So that's how it is? This is troublesome, you can't go back. But now, whether you go back or not, they will not let you go, Zir said worriedly. I have decided to fight back and make a last-ditch effort. But now I need a helper. Are you willing to be my helper? Zisu said with determination. Do I need to say this? I'm your fiancé, I'll do whatever you ask me to do. Zir raised her head and chest and said without hesitation. Okay. Come here, I'll tell you my plan. After that, Zisu whispered the battle plan he had thought of to Zir beside him. The dawn light gradually penetrated the clouds, and the sky was blue-gray. Zisu and Zir quietly flew to the vicinity of the prisoner camp and lay in ambush. At this time, the surroundings were surprisingly quiet. Zisu and Zir stayed for a long time, but there was no movement. And they couldn't help feeling a little strange. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone, see you in the next video.